Everyone. Thanks for being here tonight. We're here for City Council meeting. It's December 7th, 2020. We'll start the meeting with a roll call and determination of quorum.
Nordstrom.
Here.
Weifenbach. Here. Roberts.
Here.
Stroman.
Here.
Armstrong.
Here.
Jones.
Here.
Lehman.
Here.
Solomon.
Here.
Evans.
Here.
Drew.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Okay, thank you. And now for our invocation from Pastor Brad Clausen, followed by the Pledge of Allegiance.
Let's pray. Father, we are living in a time of contention. We have a lot of challenges in our world. And we come before you, those who believe, to ask your grace over our lives, to extend grace to others, to extend respect to others, to open our hearts to you and to long for your presence so that we can honor and respect one another as we differ on different things. I ask, Father, for your presence here tonight, that in the grace and mercy of your love, you would shower us down with your gifts and graces of mercy, and that you would stand for justice here and truth. And in this place, Father, righteousness would take place, and your mercy would be given. So we ask, Father, for your presence here. I pray for each one of us here today, each of the council members, Lord, that you would grace them and encourage them and strengthen them and protect their families. I pray for those who are sick in our community, that they would find healing, physical healing. Father, I pray that your mercy would be shown upon us as a city, and that mercy and grace that you extend to us, we would extend to others in this region, and that we would be a light in this side of the state, doing what is right and doing it in a way that is just and fair. And we pray, Father, that your presence would continue through Jesus Christ, the righteous. Amen.
Of the United States of America, republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible.
Next item on the agenda is for the adoption of the agenda, and this is where the council may adopt the agenda as written or make certain alterations to it. And we'll go to Alderman Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to move item number 41 to item 1 with the appropriate public comment.
Okay, so that's a second by Jason Solomon, and I'm going to say the motion is to move item 41 to before item 1. To be the first item up tonight, with the public comment preceding that item. All in favor of that motion? We need to go to roll call.
Jones.
Yes.
Lehman.
Aye.
Solomon.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Drew. Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach.
Aye.
Roberts.
Aye.
Stroman.
Aye.
Armstrong. Motion passes 9-0.
Okay, thank you. All right, now on to general public comment. I believe we have one speaker request for general public comment, something that doesn't tie to a specific agenda item, and that speaker request is from Jason Johnston. And for all the speakers tonight, just a reminder that we have 3 minutes for speaking. You can watch these lights up here. I would ask you when the light turns yellow to start wrapping up, and when it turns red, I would ask you to stop. And all right, floor is yours, sir.
Thank you, Jason Johnston, Rapid City. I want to thank Ron, Jason, and Darla for communicating this week. And Darla, I wish you were here because I want to thank you the most. A lesson in humility that was really good, and I'm grateful. I got the best Stevie Nicks story ever, and I hope to tell you one day. Rapid City used the International Building Code for maximum floor allowances per occupant. The standard determines the maximum occupancy based on the building's use, square footage, and number of exits. The floor area per occupant varies widely depending on the use of the facility, and I'm wondering how you guys came up with 50 people. It seems a little arbitrary, and I've been playing with the numbers, and I think it's misguided, and I just hope to point that out to you guys. If this is your code, I got it from your website, very helpful people at the city, by the way. Bar with a dance floor, net 5 people per occupant. 500 square feet, they can get 100 people in there. They get to pick. A casino gets 15 net, an exercise club gets 50 gross, a warehouse gets 500 gross. So with that bar and dance floor that gets 100, the same square footage coffee shop gets 33. So coffee shop, no opt-out. Dance floor, go get them. How about 2 coffee shops? One's 500 feet, they don't get to pick. 750 square feet around the corner, they're 50. They get to choose. And it seems unfair. It seems like they have the same requirements per occupant, square foot, social distancing, all that stuff, but you're letting one pick and you're not letting one pick. Here's another one. I know a guy in this situation, 10,000 square foot warehouse. That's the 500 square feet gross. So he could have 20 people per code, and he doesn't get to pick. He's got 8 employees. He said any day there's 5 working, any day of the week, maybe 6. Theoretically, he would not have the option. A CPA firm, 2,000 square feet, 150 gross square feet per occupant. They get 13 people. Guys, the CPA will not abide by your rules. He's not going to lose a client that he's been doing business with for years and years over a mask. He's going to say, hey, come on in and take it off. So, I mean, realistically, that's just not going to work. I've got some more examples. Let me just leave you with this. You guys are, I think, very close to doing something I didn't think you could do, okay? Threading this needle is impossible, okay? And I don't think you're far off, and I commend you all for that. But this number doesn't make any sense. I'm sorry I don't have time to give you some more because there's a couple in here that would make you just scratch your head and go, yeah, that just doesn't work. Thank you.
Thank you. And now to non-public hearing items 1 through 54. There's a speaker that wants to speak on, let's see. Okay, we'll just move 41 in front of that non-public hearing item. So let's have the public comment now on item number 41. And I'll call your names. The first one will be Janet Mole, and Jasmine Stengel following that. I apologize if I get your name wrong.
Nope, you got it right. Good evening. Thanks for having me. I'm going to read my email that I sent to you guys just in case you either didn't read it, you deleted it, or both. Again, my name is Janet Mole. I'm from here in Rapid City, Ward 5. As a former business owner and 5th-generation resident of our beautiful Black Hills, it troubles me tremendously to witness the conduct I have from our certain council members as well as our own mayor toward their fellow constituents and current residents/business owners who live, pay taxes, and support our community. Before me, my father, Don Green, owned his own business, Rapid Tank and Machine, as did my uncles, Bob Rossum, Gene Neal, and my grandfather, Lawrence Rossum. My great-grandfather Scheid was our first fire chief in Rapid City. My brother is a nationally renowned artist and resides in Hermosa. My sister, 83-year-old mother, and 3 out of 4 of my children still live here in Rapid City. Currently, I'm an accountant and run my own business online as an internationally acclaimed artist myself. So my roots do run deep, and I'm firmly committed to our community and freedoms afforded to us by this great state, South Dakota, and our country. Number one, certain council members have either personally published or socially supported lists of local businesses that do not require masks, deeming them as hazardous. Number two, a rude and what can be misconstrued as discriminatory comment made by a council member referred to sitting in the same room for 3+ hours. Ice front, please. Ms. Armstrong. For 3+ hours in a room with those people. Those people? There will be further follow-up on that one later. Another commented on social media insinuating that we haven't taken the time to read the ordinance. And let's not forget the 2 council members that wanted to limit the time for all speakers to a certain amount collectively. I have read the ordinance and still don't like what I have read. Let me say this, when the churches were written into this, I lost all confidence and respect for this council. The only reason why it was taken off was for fear of litigation, not out of moral integrity, obligation, or concern that there was an infringement upon the church's First Amendment rights or what the consequences of such actions might impose. That stunt showed me very clearly, if you're willing to try it once, you're going to try it again. It demonstrated your level of character and what your actual intentions are behind this. And it's not for public health or safety. Furthermore, the one accomplishment this council has succeeded in is creating dissension and divide within our community. It pins neighbor against neighbor. The role as a mayor and as our city council is to unite our community, not create further divide. In an effort to more successfully control the spread of this virus, there are other positive avenues that the council and mayor have been publicly presented with. I implore you, please climb down from off your high horse and remember we are the ones that put you there.
Time.
I am not for this mandate.
Thank you. Next is Jasmine Stengel, followed up by Carla Schanzenbach. Sorry about that.
All right, I want to take you back to March 22nd when the decision to close all businesses City Council members deemed non-essential was made. I was deemed a non-essential business as I run a restaurant here in Rapid City. Although we are fortunate enough to continue on a to-go only basis, this turned our world upside down, financially, physically, and emotionally. My staff was panicked, fearful, and unsure of what financial and medical burdens were upon them. I shared in these same fears. I signed up to be their leader, and this burden was on me. I had impossible decisions to make. Who we kept on, who we didn't, who got hours, who got to feed their family, how to change our entire operation to go only. It was mentally exhausting, but over the course of the next 4 weeks, we paid people hours they didn't work to lessen their burden. I communicated several times a week, either through messaging or through phone conversations. I gave them resources for unemployment, for stimulus, for organizations that could help them in their current situations. I wrote letters to landlords. I gave them milk from our store, bought hundreds of rolls of toilet paper to ensure that they were not without. Most importantly, I listened, gave them hope, encouragement, help, support, truth, and transparency. We got through it as a team. We found out what worked and what didn't work, and we adjusted. We had an amazing summer, spoke to tens of thousands of people from all over the country who came here because they fled their state for a free one. I have my staff wearing masks to ensure that all of our people, guests, employees, and vendors feel comfortable, to give them the freedom of choice. I don't say this to act superior. I say this because, in my opinion, there seems to be a lack of listening, hope, encouragement, help, support, truth, and transparency from some of these city council members. Why aren't we talking about the over 99% survival rate? Why aren't we talking about the therapeutics? Why aren't we talking about the early treatment to avoid hospitalization for people at high risk? Today's data shows positive cases are dropping. Only 18% of hospital beds are currently being occupied by COVID-19 positive patients, and we have over 79% of our ventilators available. Being anti-mask is not a red or blue position. The attack on our civil liberties under the pretense of security is dangerous. Politics playing medicine. Masks are effective in certain circumstances, but show us the research and data that shows that mask mandates change the course of this virus. Oregon required masks June 29th, Washington June 26th, Michigan March 10th, California June 18th, New York April 15th. If they worked, why are they shutting down again? We need transparency, we need truth, we need you to uphold our rights, and we need real resolution. We need you to give us hope that more liberties will not be taken away in our future, and you need to do your job that you were elected to do, not act as medical advisors. Thank you for listening.
Okay, Carla, and followed by Connie Tenenga. I'm just going to apologize again for what I'm doing to your name. Go ahead.
I'm Carla Schanzenbach from Ward 3. I urge you to pass a resolution, not a mandate, and then follow up with fresh community-building measures instead of divisive ones. Number one, we don't need council-mandated masks. Businesses that want to require masks already require masks and have for months. Businesses can enforce these mask requirements and trespass transgressors at will. Options for essential goods are available curbside or delivered for individuals who are personally at risk or work with people who are at risk and homebound, and they should choose these services accordingly. Mask mandates, number two, mask mandates don't work. Mask effectiveness studies do not reflect the non-ideal conditions encountered in real life. Mandates give vulnerable ambulatory persons a false sense of security. States with mask mandates have rising hospitalizations and are going to lockdowns and curfews, which will just lead to the next wave and continue the current wave of shortages of goods and services. Mask mandates also breed resentment, distrust, and fear. Number three, mandates fuel a range of false dichotomies. That we must choose the life of one generation over the lives and livelihoods of 3 generations. That we must choose the one essential job, air quotes, over 10 other non-essential jobs, air quotes. That we must choose to address only the pain and suffering of the healthcare workers and impacted families, which is real and should not ever be minimized, over the pain and suffering of persons impacted by suicide, anxiety, depression, mental illness, and isolation. Instead of spending your time ruling by mandate, a mandate that might be challenged in court, I ask you instead to govern with leadership. What statewide resources are available to handle the currently inevitable rise in hospitalizations? Who are the organizations serving the mental health needs of our community, and what can we provide as the public to stem the surging mental health crisis? It is essential to the economic health of Rapid City as a whole to find innovative ways to support small businesses, not shackle them with ever-increasing restrictions. What resources are being marshaled to prevent more of them from failing? And I just urge you, I go out there every day and I see people, and there is real stress and distress in this community. And the masks do not help those people who are mentally on the edge, okay? So I just urge you, please, let's look for something that is non-divisive and keep us going in the right direction, not focused on the car wreck over here while we miss the train that's coming to hit us from the other side. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to you, and thank you for your service.
Connie?
Hi, I am Connie Fanenga, and I live on the west side of town. And this is somewhat what I said last time. Something is amiss here when all the world governments are in agreement and tell their healthy people they cannot work, tell their healthy children they cannot go to school, tell their healthy people they cannot go to church, and tell their healthy families they must limit the number of people they can celebrate with for Thanksgiving and Christmas. And then tell their healthy people they must wear a mask to go shopping or enter a government building. Something is amiss here. We know that wearing a mask does not keep us safe from COVID. And if you truly believe this, please keep your mask on this entire council meeting. I would challenge you that. In fact, we do know that every disease is intensified by lack of oxygen and thus wearing the mask. We are familiar with all the COVID numbers, but we are not familiar with the death rate mortality numbers. It seems the raw data of total death rate numbers are now nowhere to be found on the South Dakota Department of Health website or the Johns Hopkins website. If the COVID was so deadly, the simple data of death rates would increase exponentially. They're not there. You can't find them. They have taken it off. The death rates are not increased exponentially. The actual mortality rate does not justify any mask mandate. My heart goes out to you all that believe in this lie, that they have made us so terrified of death that we are willing to stop living and stop loving. Thank you.
William Riley, thank you.
Thank you. Requiring mask, social distancing, or limiting numbers for private gatherings are all measures that violate the U.S. Constitution. That is to say, the Constitution of the people. No such order is lawful or enforceable. No elected or appointed office has the authority to make such an order. That said, it is clear that the will of the people is easily manipulated through intimidation, ignorance, and falsehoods that promote compliance through fear, or worse, through manipulation of our natural goodwill toward our neighbors. People want to do good. People want to do no harm, and people want to be helpful. Let us remember the childhood story of Chicken Little. A simple false assumption about the cause of a knock on the head leads to hysteria and the trampling of the kingdom. Why would Chicken Little lie? Of course, we know he didn't. He just made a false assumption, sounded a false alarm, and it spread like wildfire. Now let us consider adult lessons. Consider the Nazis or communists or all the other historic examples of intimidation, manipulation, and domination. Remember that for all the goodness mankind has within, we still retain the stain of original sin, and we are still capable of terrible error. What you are contemplating here today is terrible error. It's a hysteria that is spreading like wildfire. It needs to stop, and let it stop here in South Dakota. Let us be the fire break. And let us not be so naive as to believe that all the promoters of these draconian measures have nothing but good intentions. Conspiracy is nothing new to humanity, so it would be foolish to dismiss all its warning signs as nothing more than conspiracy theory. It would be even more foolish to be caught unprepared for those who would conspire to take our liberty. For those of you who believe that government does have emergency powers to suspend basic rights in the case of a public health and safety emergency, I urge you to consider the justification to persist in these measures and to maintain the state of emergency. Is the sky really falling? The death rate is stable. Deaths from pneumonia, heart disease, and other common respiratory ailments are down in direct proportion to those attributed to COVID. Increasing numbers of positive asymptomatic test results are being used to justify continuing the state of emergency. A testing procedure that was designed not to identify illness, but to replicate small parts of a virus's RNA for manufacturing purposes is being used to generate case numbers that are not true cases. Almost all positive tests are asymptomatic. A person may test negative today and be exposed tomorrow. So what good is the test other than to support emergency powers? Returning to the subject of masks, the CDC's own research paper entitled Non-Pharmaceutical Measures for Pandemic Influenza in Non-Healthcare Settings - Personal Protective Equipment Measures, which is on their website, clearly shows that these measures have no significant effect on transmission. I quote, "Evidence from 14 randomized controlled trials of these measures did not support a substantial effect on transmission of laboratory-confirmed influenza, and there is limited evidence for their effectiveness in preventing influenza virus transmission either when worn by the infected person or for source control or when worn by the unaffected person to reduce exposure." This is what the scientists of the CDC report publicly. At the same time, the bureaucratic management persists in promoting masks. a position they changed over time. I'm out of time?
Just out of time.
Okay. Say no to perpetuating the hysteria. Say no to restricting our freedom.
Okay, thank you. Next is Loretta, followed by Carly.
Good evening, Mayor Allender and council members. Thank you for this opportunity. My name is Loretta Jangula. My husband and I moved from within the state nearly 3 years ago, and we dearly love this city because of the friendly people and all that it has to offer. Our country is going through a very dark and difficult period, and much of that darkness is an effort to control the citizenry of the entire country in order to introduce socialism and much worse. Our country is divided, and now we are working at dividing it even worse through community mandates such as wearing of masks. We are a freedom-loving people with common sense to dangers, viruses, and etc., and we know what we must do in order to avoid them. It is not through making everybody wear a face covering. Masks do not slow down or eliminate the spread of COVID-19. This virus mutates frequently and is less dangerous now than it was originally, and there are more treatments and options available, and we know much more about it. I know, I had it. It's called ibuprofen, Tylenol, Mucinex, and lots of sunshine, along with your vitamins, vitamin D, and zinc. It has to die naturally through herd immunity. In the meantime, those who are at risk, the elderly and those with underlying conditions, need to take precautions just as they would with any other virus or such. The citizenry has been so intimidated through all of this hype about the virus that they are failing to maintain their health through their routine checkups, cancer, diabetes, high blood pressure, not to talk about the mental stress and those that are suffering from depression. I beg you, vote no to the mandate. Do not further divide our community and kill our small businesses with a mandate to wear masks. We are one of the few states whose people have not had to suffer through these lockdowns and closures of their shops, and we have been rewarded with a thriving economy. Let's not kill it. We do not need more government. We need less government. Vote no.
Thank you. Carly?
From the Declaration of Independence, we hold these truths to be self-evident that all men are created equal, that they are endowed by their Creator with certain unalienable rights, like breathing, that to secure these rights, governments are instituted among men, deriving their just powers from the consent of the governed. That's us. So in a nutshell, the government's job is to secure the unalienable rights of the people, and it gets its power to govern from the consent of the people. The Declaration of Independence gives 3 examples of fundamental God-given rights: life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness, referred to as natural rights. Fact, the act of breathing is a natural God-given right, intrinsic to life, and we did not give you our consent to legislate how we may exercise that right. Fact, God-given rights are not government privileges to be legislated or limited by the whims of government. Fact, Title 18, U.S.C. Section 242, called deprivation of rights under color of law, makes it a crime for any public official acting under color of law, statute, ordinance, regulation, or custom to willfully deprive a person of a right or a privilege protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. Public officials include federal, state, and local officials. Section 242 states that public officials acting under color of law, statute, or ordinance may be fined, imprisoned, or both for willfully depriving any person of their rights secured or protected by the Constitution or laws of the United States. Fact, the authority to legislate the natural, God-given right to breathe is outside the scope of your lawful jurisdiction and constitutional authority. Your only obligation here is to secure the right to breathe, but you don't have the authority to legislate how it may be done. As for city codes on health and safety, they're limited in scope to city-owned municipalities, such as buildings, fire safety, lighting, streets, sidewalks, waste management, sewer, water, and food safety. Fact, city codes are not unlimited and do not extend beyond their lawful jurisdiction to include the personal health and safety choices for individuals or their choice to wear or not wear a mask. If you pass this ordinance, you're putting yourself at risk for violations under Title 18, Section 242 of the U.S. Codes, and the burden of proof will be on you to prove your lawful authority to legislate how people may breathe. Thank you.
Mary Beth Adams. And on deck, we have Tonchi Weaver.
Good evening. Thanks for this opportunity again. I spoke at the first meeting.
Hold on 1 second, please.
Pardon me?
Hold on 1 second. I'm going to start you over.
Okay. You
ahead.
start my time over.
I did.
Okay, my name is Mary Beth Adams. I live at 720 Belmont in Rapid City. I spoke at the first meeting, and one of the things that I'd like to say right away is that I think that you folks should do your commentary before there's public commentary, because after I spoke, I did a lot of research, particularly on the Greater Barrington Declaration, which is 3 of the top epidemiologists in the world who have come forward saying that masks are not effective and that the whole approach to the COVID virus has been absolutely inappropriate. After I heard your commentary afterward, it was clear that you didn't hear a word that I said, or if you did, and I sent it all to you people, I gave you copies of everything that I said. You couldn't have cared less because you had already made up your mind, and that's a little disconcerting when you put a lot of time into something. I'm a family nurse practitioner. I've been working with family medicine for 15 years. I've been working with viruses, and I know how they work. There's no data to support that masks are an effective device to stop the spread of viruses. Nothing. Nothing. There's not a stitch of evidence. The only thing close is a study that they just did in Denmark that said it may protect the wearer, period. That's all you've got. You cannot tell people, especially healthy people, to wear masks that you don't have any rationale for telling them that. When I was in nursing school, I had to write rationale for every care plan that I wrote for patients, or I couldn't get a grade on it. And you don't have one stitch of rationale for this. We see children who have speech problems because of these masks. We have babies developing anxiety disorders. In babies, stress is increasing because they can't tell where the voice is coming from. Is it their mother or their caretaker or their sibling? You would have to kill me before you put a mask on my kid. I'll tell you that right now. It is child abuse. There's censorship beyond the pale. This physician that came and spoke at the last meeting, in between pulling on his mask with his dirty hand, he was shoving his hands in his back pockets, and that's the representative for the medical community. He said there were 100 physicians that signed on. There are hundreds and hundreds of physicians that work here, but they're not going to come forward because of the censorship that happens and their fear of losing their job. The data is not there. Hospitalizations are not all COVID, and they're being attributed to that. The condescension in this room and the arrogance is unpalatable. It's just wrong. We are your employers. Please listen to us. Please listen to the science and the data and stop breeding the fear in this community. I had COVID. You can use my plasma to treat any of you that get COVID. I'm not wearing a mask because I can't get infected and I can't infect you. Thank you.
Tonchi Weaver.
Well, I'm going to continue on the theme. You're getting the idea that we don't want this ordinance and we don't need this ordinance, and I'm going to make that point to you. Let's look at this ordinance as a piece of legislation, because that's what you are, a legislative body. We're going to talk about the merits as legislation. First of all, you're calling it an emergency ordinance, and yet people can opt out. If it's really essential for the health and safety of the community, why are you letting people opt out? So right now, businesses can opt in. And I would appreciate the attention of everyone here, please. Right now, businesses can opt in, and that's what free people do. Opt out implies that you have a power that you don't have, and you will exercise that power unless I act in some way. Right now, businesses opt in. They will act in their own best interest. They will put a sign on their building, and they are. But you don't have to tell them what to say. They can do that themselves. Okay, then you call it a framework. You call it that for a reason. It'll be filled in with more restrictions later. Trespassing laws already are in code. You actually refer to them in this ordinance. Businesses can eject anyone they want for any reason, including not wearing a mask. You may recall that 2 years ago there was a contentious issue about an arena being built in this community. Citizens for Liberty took a different stance than the owner of a restaurant where we had been meeting for 2.5 years. So after the issue was won, you want to talk about a sore winner, we were ejected from that restaurant for political differences. So it can be done. You don't need an ordinance for that. Subjective words like primarily don't belong in a penalty clause. Look over your penalty clause. What does primarily mean? Does that mean violations will be handled through code enforcement most of the time, or only if we like you? The penalty goes from administrative process to criminal prosecution in 2 sentences. Fines can be cumulative, and that adds up fast. And what metric, finally, did this council use to determine the sunset date of February 28, 2021? Did Monument dictate that detail too? Anyone who observes government at all knows that the sun seldom sets on schedule, and sometimes not at all. So once this ordinance is on the books, it can be amended to add houses of worship back in, remove the opt-out clause, stiffen the penalty, and move the sunset date goalpost down the field in perpetuity. We are your constituents here. We're asking you to defeat this, to do the right thing, and vote no. Thank you.
Scott McGinley, followed by Peter.
Well, I thank you for letting me speak here for a little bit, and I want to start out, and if you put this thing to a vote right now, would the council have enough votes to table or reject both mandates and the city rule to have a mask on and conclude the issue once and for all? Just have it done. Would we be able to do that? And remember, it was bending the curve, and now it's curing the disease. We've watched these other states with those laws, and it's not working. Now, however, if you want to have masks, we can be courteous and honor the business and the owners and the public if they choose to have masks or choose not to have masks without government involvement or intrusion. And that's one of the reasons I wore this mask up here, is to prove that I can actually do that and submit to what the rules are. But then what's next? Mandatory vaccinations? Now, see, and then all of a sudden the mask starts to come off of these people when they have to get a mandatory vaccination. And then how are you guys going to handle with this Black Hills Stock Show coming up? How are you going to do it? We don't want to drop the issue here that we're doing and make it about personalities on the council. As soon as we make it about personalities on the council and we drop the issue, all things start to fail. Does that make sense? So we want to believe in you, and we want to believe in your leadership, each and every one of you, and I appreciate your service. However, we need a solution that makes sense, and this mandate does not make sense. I mean, and when was the last time? I mean, this lady over here talked a little bit about that someone brought up treatment for this virus. Hydroxychloroquine, Z-Pak, zinc, and dexamethasone work when they're used, and they cost $30. Nobody talks about that. The government does have a program. It's called Remdesivir, $2 to $3 grand per treatment for 5 days, but it's not available. So we put a mask on, and it's just not working. These suggestions for treatment, no matter how well they work, get about the same amount of traction as my suggestion for 30 days of prayer to the Lord Jesus Christ for healing at the last meeting. I mean, so we have to do something. You know, so please vote for what these people want and what we want, and for our community, and reject these mandates, please. And I'd say one more time, what have I got? 10 seconds? Could we just vote in 10 seconds just to get rid of it at all? Would that be a possibility? I'm not getting a yes on that, so thank you very much.
Thank you. Peter? Peter? Peter, I didn't try to pronounce your last name.
Oh, that's okay. Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Peter Wodenka. I'm here to speak a little bit about my life. I escaped from communist country of Czechoslovakia. I was born in the communist country. I know what communism can do to the people. Communism is pretty much just a fancy word for the dictatorship. It is easier to say, yeah, communism is a good thing, or maybe communism might work. It's hard to say dictatorship works. And I heard in the past some of you mentioning that, hey, this is not communist country over here. This is not right Russia. This is not right China. I would just like to ask of those who were saying that in the past, how are you qualified to make that statement? How do you know? What credentials do you have to even say something like that? Have you ever been born and lived in the communist country before? Did you study the Karl Marx Communist Manifesto? I just don't understand how anybody who never lived the communism can actually understand what it is. You don't know what it means to wake up in the middle of the night, the government henchmen are beating the door down and take one of your family members away. You don't know what it is to have family members disappear in the gulags and never appear again. Communism is dictatorship. And now, with these mask mandates, I kind of see the relationship of a little bit same lines going on over here. We have 6 people on this board over here today is going to decide what is required for the 70,000 people population in Rapid City. To me, that's almost dictatorship. 6 people is going to decide it for 70,000 people. I don't think that is right. And again, you know, numbers don't support it. And people in America are very smart people. And we have some kind of going on, COVID and stuff like that going on right now. But people can protect themselves. They don't need their government or their city council or anybody to tell them, hey, this is what you need to do. People are pretty smart. There are people wearing masks every day. You go to the stores and most of the people are wearing masks over there. They are doing it because they want to. They are not doing it because somebody says, you gotta do it or else. That's the way it should be. It should be freedom of decision. If somebody wants to wear the full body chemical suit, it's up to them. And if somebody doesn't wear the mask because they don't believe in it or because their medical condition don't allow them, it should be up to them. I just want to tell you that 3 years ago, I came down with this really bad case of flu. And first thing which I did, I separate myself from the family in my house so nobody else can do it, does get it. And actually I was able to prevent that from happening in the family. And then when it was all over, I started coming to the public, I was actually wearing mask. Because I saw that in Japan, during the flu season, the people wear masks, and I was always thinking this is the good thing. I was being ridiculed. I had people, adult people pointing at me, little children pointing at me, and adult people laughing at me. This is 3 years ago. I look like a crazy person walking around in the mask. But I did it so I don't get anybody else sick. Because people are responsible. And it should be up to the people what they want to do. Not up to the city council or any kind of government.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
Next is Kirsten, followed by Lorraine Besmer.
Hi, I'm Kirsten Mitzel. As a citizen who was born and raised in this community, I love this community with all my heart. Now I see it being destroyed. Division, hatred, doxing, defamation, blacklisting, and public shaming are all happening due to this mask debate. As someone who has a medical condition and is unable to wear a mask, I and those like me are suffering. We get the nasty stares and comments. We get treated like lepers. We are judged for not complying. We are not given the benefit of the doubt. I and many others like me have been denied entry to public places due to our medical conditions or disabilities. I have a signed note from my doctor stating that I am unable to wear a mask, and that note is as useless as the piece of paper it's written on. It does nothing to protect my rights. I personally have been denied entry to businesses. I have been denied essential medical care with no regard as to how it may damage my health by not receiving necessary care. I have been denied the right to an attorney to represent my best interest in a situation where I am not at fault. I have been denied the right to access city buildings, and I am given no alternate options to accommodate my medical necessity to not wear a mask. I am continually discriminated upon and treated as a second-class citizen because I cannot and will not comply. I realize this ordinance allows an exemption for those with medical conditions and disabilities, but it does not allow an exemption from the public hatred for not being able or willing to comply with mask requirements. By passing this ordinance, you will only further divide this community. We are already hanging by a thread. Small businesses have closed. Others, in an effort to remain open, have had to cut staff and change their way of doing business at their own expense. They are losing money, and many will not be able to hold on much longer. You say businesses have a choice, but the court of public opinion has already found them guilty and is blacklisting them. Members of this council have blacklisted local businesses that do not require masks. Many members of the community are too terrified or are unable to receive medical care due to mask requirements or going untreated and dying because of it. Pennington County's teen suicide rate has increased by 233% because students have been isolated and forbidden to spend time with friends in school and at school-related activities during their most formative years. We've canceled in-person school, proms, graduation. Those lifelong memories that these kids should be enjoying are being taken from them with no regard as to how it affects them. What's next? When will this stop? When will you consider the damage you're doing to the community that you say you represent? I urge you to vote against this ordinance. Imposing a mask mandate will produce an undue burden on small local businesses, those with medical conditions and mental health problems, and the healthcare system, as previously healthy people may be affected that otherwise would have remained healthy. We have yet to see the ill effects that these mask mandates have caused, but I believe it will be to far greater detriment than the virus itself.
Okay. Lorraine Besmer.
Okay, I did not come with a prepared speech, but I will tell you I am a compromised person. I am almost 77 years old. I have an autoimmune disease, and I am not afraid of COVID. I have lived through a number of other things. My siblings all had whooping cough. When I was a child, I didn't get it. The only childhood disease I've ever had was mumps at the age of 50. I don't think that my age nor my health condition has anything to do with what the government can tell me what to do. I also do not believe that isolation belongs for the healthy. It should be only for the people who are actually ill. Now, I am going to read you a little thing that I got off of the internet, and I believe in it 100%. It's a little offshoot from Dr. Seuss. I will not wear it on my face. I will not wear it anyplace. I will not wear it to get in. I will not wear it on my chin. I will not wear it on my ear. I will not wear it out of fear. I will not wear your stupid mask. I will not wear it. Do not ask. I 100% believe in that, and I have had a family member died of COVID. Supposedly, she may have died with COVID. It was not COVID. And while we're discussing the death rates, let's think of all the little kids that are murdered in abortion before they ever draw a breath. Amen.
Sharon Papineau, followed by Sandy Herr.
Hi, I'm Sharon Papineau, a political refugee from California. Again, my sincere thanks to the City Council members who've taken their precious time to support freedom and really trust the good citizens of Rapid City. Rapid City citizens are already wearing the masks. Why the mandate? It is sad to see the citizens be criminalized because of being unable to wear masks due to medical issues, therefore probably being forced to explain why, which is an intrusion of medical privacy. Businesses are expected to do the dirty work, causing division with customers and affecting their own economy. Wearing masks do not prevent death or even COVID. People wearing masks faithfully still get COVID. Just check in with California and New York. And the recovery rate is still very high. Is it for power, control, to be impressive? Has there been money involved? Or doing a favor for an outside interest? Rioters can burn, loot, and even kill, and they are exempt, but a tourist area is now imposing restrictions. Safety can lead to destruction, and it's also used as an excuse to pass another law. Thoughts are, oh, we just want to keep you safe, and we don't trust you anymore to make your own decisions. Life is a risk. Money is not eternal, and we all have a timetable. Someday we will meet our Creator and give an account of our lives, and that is including me, and that's mind-boggling. In the meantime, I cannot say hi, Merry Christmas effectively, smile, read lips, or bye unless I wear a plastic or paper dictated by some members of the City Council. This is not freedom, but instead control and a need of power over others. Our ancestors didn't worry about diseases. They sacrificed and lived in constant danger. They came for freedom, which is a gift for all of us. Please do not take the gift of freedom away. The citizens of Rapid City are very capable of making their own decisions. And remember, the City Council is to work for the citizens. Thank you.
Sharon Papineau.
Good evening. I'm Sandy Herr.
Sandy Herr, yeah.
I live in Rapid City. I retired from Senator Thune's Rapid City office after 9 years of service. I took a first step today, but it was my first step. No one said I must take that first step. That step was to put on a mask to attend this meeting tonight. Is it comfortable? No. Can I breathe freely and well? No. Would I rather not wear it? Yes. I'm wearing a mask because I have a pre-existing condition that some say might make me more vulnerable to COVID-19. But does everyone here have my pre-existing condition? Some say, does everyone here or have some other pre-existing condition? Maybe yes, maybe no. I wore a mask tonight because I decided to, not because an elected official from the government told me I must. That's fairly blunt, I know, and not very polite, but you see, I'm tired of going down the road of non-involvement, tired of accepting what I know to be wrong, tired of being polite to people who think they have the right to steal my freedoms. I am usually a very private person. Not in a million years would I ever have considered speaking in public. But there are some things you must stand up for and fight for with all your being. Our precious freedoms granted by our beloved country is foremost among them. We watched a national election being stolen from right under our noses. We were guilty of being inattentive and naive. This could never happen in America, we said, but it did, and we allowed it to happen because we were lazy and not paying attention. Somewhere, someone took that first step that allowed this travesty of justice. If you take away my choice to wear or not wear a mask, you have stolen one of my freedoms from me. You have taken the first step of eroding my God-given rights as an American citizen. Yes, I took that first step in deciding to wear a mask tonight. It was my right to do so, not your right to mandate that I must. Please vote no on this ordinance, and thank you for your time.
Jody Fry.
Good evening. I am Jody Fry. I'm sure most of you have heard me speak before. I originally wrote a little speech I was going to give you, but so eloquently my comrades have said most of what I wanted to say. So I'm going to reflect just a little bit. I believe it was the last meeting we heard our mayor say, "Come on, it's just a little piece of fabric." Now we got a council that wants us to put a sign in our door. Maybe we should ask the Jews how that worked for them. Then we hear how 55% of the emails you received were against, or were for the mask mandate, and only 45 were against it. But yet we've seen, what, 95%? An overwhelming majority right here in this council begging you to not push this mandate on us. And I really feel that there's 6 of you at least that are going to do the right thing. I'm praying, because we don't want a watered down mandate, because we've already heard that, it's better than the last one, and you're basically being threatened that if you don't agree to this watered down mandate, that Mayor, you're going to bring back the first one. And we've already had our attorney here to show you where that's going to go. So that's 2 of the things that I wanted to say. And then I want to reiterate that we are one of the businesses that were put on your naughty list. These lists should have never been started. It is hateful, it is divisive in our community, and shame on the council person who started this. And if she doesn't like the 3 hours of being with us, maybe she should consider stepping down. And any of you who feel that way. And I'm sure I'll get an applause down there too. So that's basically what I wanted to say. I'm begging our council members. I wish Greg Stroman was here because he's mine. Jason is mine. But I'm begging you guys, do not settle for a watered down mandate. Love you down there. Do not settle for this watered down mandate. Do not put up with threats that if you don't push or vote for this mandate, that we're going to come back with the other one. No mandates. This is our lives. This is our community. These are our jobs and our businesses. Let us work and run them the way we see fit to serve our community and our customers. Thank you. I look forward to at least 6 of you voting no. Please, Pat. I've known you for a long time through Deadwood. Please vote for these people. Thank you.
Florence Thompson.
I'm Florence Thompson. I'm president of South Dakota Parents Involved in Education. And of course, all this affects the schools as well. I'd like to set the record straight. So I hope you'll listen to this because you may have heard it wrong the first time. Many of the speakers have referred to a study that says that COVID-19 did not raise the overall death rate. And one of the council members Googled it in a hurry and found somebody on the internet that said, no, that's not true. That person was only a student that did that study. That is incorrect. And I did send you all an email. A couple of them got kicked back. I'll have to fix that tomorrow, but I will do that. I sent you an email that includes a study that will let you, an article that will let you get a synopsis of it and then find the original study if you want to read that. But it also includes the credentials of Genevieve Briand, B-R-I-A-N-D. She holds a PhD. She's not a student. She is the deputy director of one of their master's degree programs. She's spent many years as a professor and as an associate professor teaching statistics and econometrics, and she is highly qualified. She stands behind her conclusions. Her little article was, or not little article, her analysis was removed from the Johns Hopkins newsletter. It was not removed from a professional journal. It was not peer-reviewed or anything like that. It was reviewed as a political move to not embarrass the powers that be. But the truth is, she found, and she stands by this, that COVID-19 has not increased the overall death rate in America. And I do ask you to please don't pass this watered-down mandate. At first I thought, well, maybe that's the best we can get. But I think it's the camel's nose under the tent. And as long as you guys have that on the books, then somebody can amend it and come up with a longer period of time and more restrictions, or put churches back in. And so please just get rid of it. Go back to the resolution. If you feel you must do something, go to a resolution. Thank you very much.
Sasha Campbell.
I don't have a prepared speech. It's just, I have a busy life, and I've been here a few times already, but I don't really have anything to say that hasn't already been said, and I have a feeling you all have made up your minds already. But I guess the one thing I want to say is thank you, because I've never seen citizens so engaged and passionate about an issue, and You've awakened the sleeping lions, for sure, with this one. The Freedom Group has almost 1,000 members and growing every day, and it will continue to grow. This isn't the end. Please consider voting no.
Glenn Gehring.
Hi there, I'm Glenn Gehring, 1027 Silver Street, lifelong South Dakota resident, and for most of my adult life, Rapid City. I love this place, I love this town. I've crossed paths with, Rapid City, Western South Dakota is 2 degrees of separation. We all have common ties. It's all about community. We shop the same places, or we did. We walk the same streets, but I feel like I'm just waking up in the backseat of the bus. I'm looking out the window, and we're not headed home. I've been blindly accepting what's going on in our community because I believed you had our best interests at heart. It's not looking that way. We elected you to serve us. That's the job, serve our interests. The second you interject your opinions based on those facts that you've gleaned from Google or Facebook, you're out of line. A quick peek at both sides of this argument shows the anti-maskers are largely individual choice in support of local business. It's support, it's a positive outlook, always. The pro-mask side is ready for division. Now, we're mobilizing Karen and Ken to rat everybody out, make the naughty lists. We just want to give people a choice. They're literally doxing small businesses, readying them for expulsion and elimination from our community and our businesses. Personally, I wish you no harm and I expect no ill will from you. If I was sick, I wouldn't be standing here. If you believe that piece of cloth or paper on your face protects you, what do you have to fear from me? I lost my father less than a year ago. Possibly to this, we'll never know. I bring it up only to point out the fact that his favorite saying was, you don't get to pick. You don't get to pick when, where, or how you go. God does that. Thank you.
Haley Clark.
Hi, everybody. My name is Kaylee Clark. I actually live in Somerset, but my family does a lot of our business here in town. My daughter attends classes here in town, and so I have a vested interest in this matter. My family and I relocated to Rapid City from California, and for all of you watching online, cheers, drink up. I saw the game last session. I wasn't here last session because my husband had been sick the week prior with a cold, and I chose, as a responsible individual, to not attend that meeting just to be safe and to make sure that I wasn't spreading anything unconsciously. I was here the meeting prior, however, and something that really, really stood out to me was the disregard for I went home and I called my mom after the last meeting and I said, it blew me away. Not one council member up there was fully attentive at the times. And I understand this is long. It's 3 hours. I get it. It's hard to be in the room for 3 hours with somebody when you don't agree with their opinion. And I do call a certain person out for that comment. If that's too hard, then maybe you should consider the role that you're in. The public shaming that has occurred over the last several weeks is astonishing. I was meeting a new neighbor yesterday, and she asked, so what brought you to Rapid City? What brought you to South Dakota? I said, wow. When we came over the summer, I was blown away by how friendly everybody was, how welcoming, how kind. They wanted to know your story. They wanted to get to know you. Now I'm watching that all unravel because of a mask. I'm not here to debate whether masks work or not. I already stated that opinion prior. What I'm saying is that this watered-down mandate does not give a choice. What this does is gives reasons to create lists, to have formal groups on Facebook, of which I'm a part of several, and I'll admit it, I'm going to get banned from all of them tonight. I, unlike a lot of these people, actually want to make an informed decision. I want to hear all sides of the story. And I think what really frustrates a lot of us here is that when we have council members who are so focused on getting their point across, they're not willing to listen to what's being said by the people who put them in that place. So please say no to this. Please do not engage on Facebook outside of your role and demean businesses that are simply trying to stay afloat. Back home, there were 3 suicides of teenagers, an 11-year-old, a 16-year-old, and a 17-year-old, all this last week because of the bullying. That's what's happening here. Please don't pass this.
Thank you. Nick Urey.
Good evening, and thank you for letting me speak. A lot of things have been said. We're coming up on the 243-year anniversary of the Boston Tea Party. I highly suggest you guys go and read the Tea Act and what made them so mad. And it was against small businesses. They were trying to benefit a monopoly. With that being said, take personal responsibility. I would love to take personal responsibility. I feel like I am. I feel like I'm educating myself. I have critical thinking capabilities. I can deduct. I can think. How many people died in 2020 versus 2019? Can't get that data. How many births took place in 2019 versus 2020? You can't get that data either. It's frustrating because we pay for that data. What this means is you can't make an informed decision. And I've listened to so many people come up here talk, studies. Switzerland's even saying that they're seeing a decrease in mortality rate. They're not seeing it. So where are you guys getting your information? How are you becoming informed? Everybody's up here talking, and I don't hear any of you or any of the opposition coming up and citing stuff. Face masks might work. Now, I am definitely in conflict with the City Council, or I guess members of the City Council, because some of you are good people. You're all good people. A personality conflict happens when there is a belief conflict. And underneath the belief conflict is a value conflict. I am in conflict with you because I don't share the same values as you, and I don't share the same beliefs as you. Or I should say, you guys don't share the same values as us, and you certainly don't share the same beliefs. Beliefs are powerful. We have freedom of choice. We have freedom of thought. And when you start to put mandates on people for what they believe, or you mark them, it becomes really disgusting. You know, the Jews are a Semitic people. They come from, their language structure is Semitic. A Jew has a belief system. They were marked for their beliefs. This is the sign that they had to put in their window. What does it look like? You have mandated signage and language that I shall put in my window. From the window to the close. Just like that. A belief system. And granted, there were other people that were marked. There were dissidents, prisoners, gays, homosexuals. They were all marked. I want you to know that this is the sign that I will be flying in my window. It says mask-free zone. Because words are powerful, beliefs are powerful. And I really, really would hope you guys consider and investigate what is the mortality rate versus 2020 versus 2019. Is nobody up here curious? Are you not curious? How many more people died this year compared to last year? And if it's less, do you not have cognitive dissonance at that point to wonder and question what's going on? Thank you.
Marshall? I missed your last name, sir.
Marshall Bannister. Patrick Henry is famous for saying, "Give me liberty or give me death." But I can imagine some contemporary of his saying something like this: "Pat, don't you think that's a little extreme? I like liberty too, but death? I think I'll just go along with the king and go on living." And there you have two types of people. One type that likes liberty, but not enough to fight for it, not enough to risk everything for it. They will take it if they can get it, but if not, oh well. In that group are ones who would give up liberty in exchange for security, safety, prosperity, or whatever bowl of pottage is appealing at the time. And then you have the second type, those like Patrick Henry, those who value liberty above just about everything else, those who see liberty as a precious commodity that is well worth fighting for, and if necessary, worth dying for. In this group, you have people that see any infringement of their liberty as a very serious matter. They know what history has proven over and over again. A little stolen liberty is usually followed by another, and another, and another, until the once free people have become slaves. Those who are afraid of COVID and don't have a problem giving up their liberty are, at least for now, still free to do as me and many others have done. They can move. They can move to a place that is more in line with their way of thinking. Sadly, there are many places in this country where liberty is not valued as highly as people like Patrick Henry value it. If liberty is not that important to you, congratulations. You have most of the country to choose from. You can go north, south, east, or west, pick a warm climate or a cold, choose the country or the city. You have endless possibilities. But for those like many of us who have moved here, for those like many of us here tonight, for those like Patrick Henry who value freedom above most things, for us, the choices are few. To many people, this state stands out among the other 49 as a bastion of liberty. You have heard of and from numerous people who came here this year for that precious jewel that they believed was still shining brightly here, freedom. I ask you, why can't you let this be a place where freedom is still considered and treated as the precious thing it is? Businesses already have the freedom to make their own rules about masks. They don't need you to intercede or interfere. I'm sure there are far more important things for you and all of us to be focusing on. I would imagine you were all taught at a young age to not take what doesn't belong to you. I'm telling you now, do not take our freedom. It does not belong to you. Keep your hands off our stuff. Keep your hands off our freedom. Vote no. Thank you.
Thank you. Jordan Mason.
Thank you, Mayor and Council. Again, it's Jordan Mason. I just wanted to go, and I'm obviously beating a dead horse, but I'll beat it again. And for some of you that I've talked to, you know, you've said this is the better deal out of the two. As the old expression goes, the lesser of two evils. Let's not forget, the lesser of two evils, both are still evil, right? Two wrongs don't make a right. Let's invoke some common sense here. You are invoking a slippery slope, and I'll say it again, you don't have the authority. But let me get specific this time so it's really clear. Because the last time your legal counsel told you that it was okay, coming on the heels, might I add, of the Roman Catholic Diocese of Brooklyn versus Como that literally was passed, settled by the U.S. Supreme Court just last month in November of 26 of this year, right? So if that's where this starts, that you think that's okay, that infringing our First Amendment rights, flagrantly flying in the face of the U.S. Supreme Court, that you have that authority, I would assume that you would also assume that you have the authority to trump the state. But let's be clear, you're acting on 932.1, South Dakota Codified Law. The very next one in 932.2 says, and I quote, each first and second municipality may appoint a board of health and prescribe its powers and duties subject to the supervision, wait for it, of the State Department of Health. Right? You're preempted. Right? There's a higher authority, a more competent authority with epidemiologists, virologists, and labs that can actually handle this. You don't have it. But let's be a little more rational here, right? It's not like you're taking one sliver of one statute and an entire chapter of them and taking it completely out of context, would you? But wait, let's look at 932.10. It talks about refuse in public places and streams. 932.12, noxious weeds and unhealthful vegetation. You don't have the authority. But I want to be specific because I said it before when I first came here. Let's talk about Section 1983. Again, it says that you are acting under the color of authority, under the color of state law, right? When you as an elected officials willfully and knowingly step out of your authority to violate our constitutional rights, right? This is why we fought for this country. This is why people like me joined the armed services, went overseas to fight for our freedoms. This is a slippery slope, and when you start labeling us, when you start dividing your population, when you start gagging us, so we speak no evil, we see no evil, and we hear it, none, right? When you want to control a population like that, you have engaged in tyranny. And let me say it one more last time. When a people fear their government, there is tyranny. When the government fears the people, there is liberty. Please bring us liberty.
Chuck Henry.
I've been waiting for this. Hate, hate, hate. You're throwing accusations at the mayor and the leadership of the council.
Can you talk into the microphone, please, Chuck?
If you don't like what they're doing, Run for the office. That's all you got to do. Run for their office. Some have 3 years to go. I know one of them got a year and a half. The media is bringing this into you. Every single day, the national media is telling you the numbers. Local media is telling you the numbers. They're doing it to make you fear. I have mental illness. I don't know where you get the 200% suicide rate. Apparently you don't know mental illness that bad. I'm not going to Yankton. I have mental illness that's controlled because I know what to do about it. Last week somebody brought up the ADA Act, American Disabilities Act. That's accessibility. Has nothing to do with mandates. That's accessibility to buildings, accessibility to everywhere they want to go. There's a bunch of businesses out here that don't have the push buttons for people that need to get in the door. I got 2 of them I told them about it at that business where I live. Drugs, drinking, alcohol, smoking, that infringes on my rights. Why aren't you complaining about that? Enforcement, you guys don't understand it. The police don't get involved until the last thing. It's code enforcement, it's businesses that enforce it. Police have nothing to do with it unless it's out of control. Oh, where am I? This is talking about indoors only. If you go outside, you don't have to wear it. What's so bad about that? Thank you.
Thank you. Amy Lawrence.
My name is Amy Lawrence. I have never actually spoken at a public meeting before, so bear with me. I am a Rapid City resident and as a South Dakota University student. Back at the end of spring break, I was informed we would not be returning to school. We were told to lock down and help slow the spread. During the height of the pandemic scare at the beginning of the year, Rapid City also declared a lockdown on designated non-essential businesses as a part of a large-scale, largely untested disease mitigation tactic. These lockdowns were implemented despite concerns over economic hardship, academic adversity, and psychological stress. More than half a year later, there have been no significant impacts from lockdowns or other COVID-19 mitigation measures. Now you want to enforce another large-scale, largely untested restriction on the citizens of Rapid City. I propose this to be scientifically asinine. Masks have not been scientifically proven, but rather suggested to only be mildly effective. Still, you seek to experiment the efficacy of masks on this city and state, even in your own ordinance, you state that you hope it will slow the spread. You can only state hope because the evidence for masks is controversial at best, and you have no grounds to declare that it will slow the spread. With full knowledge of this, you continue to cultivate animosity among citizens by legislating social controls that polarize us into mask wearers and non-mask wearers, forming a disharmony over a device that many wear with a disclaimer stating that it does not prevent disease. You claim to have the moral high ground and attempt to invalidate arguments against masks by equating them with a lack of compassion, claiming we don't care even when you know that masks do not prevent infection. However, we do care. We care that individuals are able to live their lives freely and without endlessly worrying when their time will come, because for all of us, it will come. Because we know that wearing masks do not stop infection any more than never leaving your home stops death. I do not intend to devalue the lives of those at risk or belittle the pain of loss, but I do intend to say that we live our lives every day calculating risk at every turn. We all do something extremely dangerous every day. We drive a car. We pass and endanger hundreds or even thousands of people on our commute around the city, but we do it because we value our freedom and believe it's worth the risk. A car is not a virus, but the concept of risk is the same. Masks have not proven themselves to have a significant enough impact to outweigh the small risk incurred from not wearing them. By implementing this mandate, you do a disservice to the citizens of this city. Enforcing masks turns an ineffective, broad medical strategy into a badge of community service, when in reality it stops nothing and turns citizens against each other. It is a blanket treatment that forms a false sense of security for those at risk from the disease and does not provide them with proper focus of care. Lastly, it denies those who have recovered from COVID-19 to return to normal and leaves them in a perpetual life of pandemic restrictions. If you agree to pass this tonight, I and others like me will know what answer we have when the next election cycle comes. Thank you for your time in discussing this.
Thank you. Jen Harlan.
So first of all, I just want to say thank you to everyone who decided to come to the City Council meeting tonight to speak. I feel it's important for us all to have a voice to be heard, and I think it shows a lot of courage for us to come here. What I don't think shows a lot of courage is, as this is streaming on Facebook right now, there are people who don't have the courage to come here, whatever their excuses may be. But right now they're saying people like me and anybody else who has their opinion or narcissists. They're calling us names, they're calling us rude, they're calling us liars, they're calling us fools, and that is what's happening. We bring this mask mandate to the forefront, and now our city is divided. We have city council members, I know this has been brought up before, but I think it's a valid point, who continue not to look at the people that are speaking. Thank you to all of you that think it's important to look at us, to listen to us. I feel like many of you have already made your decision. So I'm not here to talk about whether masks work or whether masks don't work. I'm here to talk about people being disrespectful and the divide that this has created. People are creating Facebook pages, which we've already talked about, only encouraging those to go into businesses that have a mask mandate. People are creating naughty lists. Medical professionals are targeting small businesses who were brave enough to come up here and speak their minds. They're targeting them, putting them on a naughty list. I mean, we're that immature. It's not okay. It's not okay for anyone right now on Facebook to be saying mean or hateful comments. Where is the philosophy? If you don't have anything nice to say, don't say anything at all. You are not right. I am not right. We all have our opinions, and that is what it is. We can believe the CDC, and we cannot believe the CDC. We can wear a mask, and we cannot wear a mask. We all are individuals, and we all deserve respect. It's hard for this community to respect others when our own city council members are showing disrespect. Posting publicly, try sitting in a meeting with those people. That is division. Why are we creating a divide? I encourage each and every one of you to be a better person, to be kind to people. It is none of your business whether I wear a mask or not. If you don't want to come into a place of business that doesn't have a mask mandate, then don't. But I think we all forget that we need to be kind and we need to be respectful. That's all I have to say. God bless America.
Thank you. Jesse Ham.
Good evening. Last week I spoke on behalf of myself with some principles that I wanted to be considered before you guys made your decision. Unfortunately, there are folks, and it's Laura Armstrong's Facebook team that attempted to intimidate me into silence by threatening my workmates with an addition of my company on a naughty list. Naughty from perception, in a world of perception and deceit right now. I appreciate people's intent, I really do, each and every person's. I just want to clarify a couple things for my workmates, for the people who weren't up here speaking. It was just me. Instead of all about you, it is about you, physical therapy, where I work. They welcome people who, per the CDC guidelines, do want to come in and seek help and don't want to wear a mask for a number of reasons per the CDC website. They will not force anything. A few people have spoken of this concept earlier, but weaponizing kindness is not kind. It is true that a mask worn by the wearer is mildly effective for the wearer against droplets. That's fair. The rest of the information is out. The jury is out. I would appreciate it if everyone would take a moment and just take that in. The jury's out. I'm not going to make any bold, definitive statements about what will come of that, other than right now I'd like to wait a bit until we have more information. At this last meeting, there were 110 people at Monument with COVID-19. Today, as it stands, there are 85. Please check me on that. It's from several reliable sources. The burden of proof in this situation is not on the people who stand up here before you. We don't want to change societal norms. The burden of proof, longitudinal proof, evidential proof, is on those who would like to change the societal norms within our community. I'd appreciate you all considering that before you move forward. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm just going to say Mr. or Mrs. Rupert. I didn't want to try your first name, I'm sorry.
It's Rione.
Rione.
I'm Rione Rupert. I had absolutely no intention of speaking tonight. I came down to show my support and ask you to vote no on this mandate. But as I'm sitting here, it grieves me to hear about the blacklisting that's going on in our community. It absolutely grieves me to hear about council people that are doing such things, and that, you know, and to think that y'all already have your minds made up and you're going forward with your agenda grieves me. And I got to tell you, I've got a husband with cancer. He just had a stem cell transplant in July. If he was here tonight, he would choose to wear a mask. And not because he believes that that mask is going to do him a whole lot of good, but it might help. And, you know, on this December 7th, what's going through my mind today is my dad was a Pearl Harbor survivor. And my dad would absolutely be repulsed at what is going on in our country today. He fought for this country. His twin brother fought for this country. I had a daughter and a son-in-law in the Air Force. I have a grandson in the Army Reserve. They all believe in freedom of choice. They believe in the freedom of this country. And if you guys think that your choices right now are not affecting this community, think again, because this community is being hurt. The schools are hurting our children. I've got 2 grandchildren in this community, and they are struggling because of what the adults are doing and the choices that they are being made and the way that things are happening. So, yeah, lots of personal effect going on here
for a lot of people, and there's a lot of people that have shared a lot of things with you guys. I hope somebody's listening. Thank you.
Thank you. David Hanson.
Hello, I'm David Hanson. I'm an attorney here in town, but just for the record, I'm not representing anybody else, only my own opinions. I just wanted to say, you can't legislate away a pandemic. I think you all are clearly aware of that. And so I think that at this point, it's kind of a, what do we do to show leadership? If we do nothing, people will think one way of us. So we better do something. And I think maybe here you're trying to be as least invasive as possible. I noticed that there's nothing about a rubber glove mandate for your hands. We know that that's also part of spreading any disease, is that it can be spread by touching things that other people have contaminated. I was sitting with my daughter on the floor the other day when we had that cold spell, and we were sitting in kind of a sunbeam, as it came in the window. And my daughter is 4 years old, and it seemed like the first time she'd noticed it, but the particles, that dance around in a sunbeam, and she was really tickled by that. She thought that was pretty cool. She waved her hand through them, and they swirled around. She blew on them, and they swirled around even faster. And it helped me to realize at that point that, even though we've got the social distancing and the 6 feet apart, there are other air currents that are blowing these particles around. And even when I put my hand in the sunbeam to stop the little dancing particles, they disobediently went right around my hand. And I couldn't stop them. I tried to catch them, and I couldn't stop them. We just don't have the control over a disease like this that we hope and we wish that we could have. And I just wanted to point out one other aspect of the mandate is the enforcement aspect. And this escapes me because how do you effectively enforce something like this? I was at the park the other day with my kids, and there was a sign clearly posted that there was a leash ordinance in effect, that to take your pets into that park, they needed to be on a leash. There was a gentleman there who did not have his dog on a leash. He let it run where it would. But no police came by to stop him. Nobody came by to enforce that law, and so it was really no good there. I see my time is running short, but I just urge you to please consider carefully the effects that this is having. Please open your hearts to what people are really trying to say. I understand that there's a lot of emotion here, but please carefully consider what's going on. I'd urge you to vote against the mandate. Thank you.
That's the last speaker request form that I have on this item. So now we'll read item 41 into the record and turn it over to the City Council. Item 41. Second reading, ordinance 6454, an emergency ordinance requiring the wearing of face covering in indoor public spaces to slow the community spread of novel coronavirus, COVID-19. We'll start with Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. First of all, I would like to make a motion to approve the second reading of ordinance 6454, an emergency ordinance requiring the wearing of face covering in indoor public spaces to slow the community spread of the novel coronavirus, COVID-19. That's my motion.
Okay, is there a second? Second by Greg Stroman. Okay, go ahead, Richie.
Thank you, Mayor. I just wanted to start off with making comments to the public that is here as a general group. Last week we had several legislators in here trying to convince us to not do a face mask mandate. I would also ask them, those state legislators, to take a look at item number 31 within our agenda for this evening. We are writing off about $1 million per year on ambulance services that we cannot collect on. I would urge the state legislators to take further action in that area versus in trying to dictate to the city of Rapid City what we should and should not do. We're also hearing comments, and again, as a general, of this group that is in attendance tonight. We keep hearing about where we can go and where we can't go on the weekends, where we can stay on the weekends. Now we are considering putting up security cameras in those places where we enjoy our weekends. Your lack of respect for our rules doesn't sway me at all. You're telling us how to sit, how to conduct ourselves. Our eyes should be on you, but you do not respect our rules of no service within the City Hall. That is disrespectful for me, in my opinion. A lot of the information that we've been receiving over the last several weeks is what I call alternative science. I've got a much stronger word for it than that, but I'm going to use the word alternative science is what we keep hearing about. For me, I will continue to listen to the healthcare workers for instance, at Monument Health. Those people are the experts in the health science area. And they've given us a lot of good information. They've also shared with us a lot of information from the CDC as well. And that seems to be timely. The last group that I've been listening to is what I call the voiceless. The people that aren't able to attend here because of their fear for contacting this virus. Those to me are the voiceless. I communicate with them in other fashions, so I get to hear from them. The only reason I call them voiceless is because they're not at this podium to speak up for themselves. Because they are absolutely concerned, very concerned, about what will happen to them when you, as this collective group, do not respect our rules. Thank you, Mayor. I'll yield.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'd like to make a substitute motion to table this item.
Who was the second? Jason Solomon. Okay, we have a substitute motion to table the item. There's no discussion on a tabling motion. We'll go straight to a vote.
Roberts? Yes. Stroman? No. Armstrong? No. Jones? No. Lehman? Aye. Solomon? Aye. Evans?
No.
Drew? Drew? Nordstrom?
No.
Weifenbach? Do I wait for Darla? Motion fails 5-4.
Mr. Mayor, point of clarification, because Darla Drew is checked in, she's absent from the counter. Does that mean she's an aye? Maybe with Mr. Landine can weigh in on that?
Joel Landine.
It doesn't make her an aye. Generally, if you abstain or you don't vote, it's like a vote against it, but in this case, there was sufficient votes. I know she checked in, but at this point, I think there's been 2 questions asked she hasn't responded to, so I don't know if she's still there or not at this point.
Well, we have, of all the council members voting, it's 5-4, so that motion's not going to pass. We're back to the original motion, which is to approve. Anyone else like to get in the queue to speak? Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Start with that the houses of worship should never have been in the ordinance to begin with. Never should have been in there. I don't think there's a person.
Excuse me, Darla's here. Darla's here. Can I vote still, or is it too late?
It's too late. We'll get, just hang on there and we'll get you on the next go around.
Okay. I hit the wrong button. I've been listening to everything, so sorry. Thank you.
Go ahead, Pat.
Mayor, may I start over?
Yep.
I lost 21 seconds. So let's just start over. Thank you, sir. The houses of worship should never have been in the ordinance. Never. I don't know anyone sitting on this dais that wanted it there. It was in there because it was part of something else, but we made it very clear in, especially last meeting, that it was not to be in there. I will never allow that to be part of it. And as I've emailed to some people, it has nothing to do with litigation and everything to do with the fact that it's wrong and it can't be in there. So that will never be part of what's going on. Common sense has been tossed around a lot. A resolution was introduced by some of us to not be so heavy-handed as what the original ordinance was. I, along with others, thought it would be a good idea to once again encourage people to do what we believe is the right thing, to encourage them to take care of others. And many people said, no, it wasn't strong enough, you need to do more, you need to do more. I will echo my colleague, Mr. Nordstrom. We have to speak on behalf of those who can't be here. This stuff about this lists, this is the first I've heard of anything about these lists. And I'm infuriated if there are such lists out there. I don't see them. I don't dabble on Facebook that much. The last thing I put on Facebook was, we're not in the same boat, but we're all in the same storm. Let's be kind to one another. I don't know how controversial that is. But if these lists are actually happening, then we have a whole lot bigger problem. A whole lot bigger problem, and I think that needs to be looked into. Because we have no business playing in that game. I didn't know that people were posting comments on Facebook while they were watching this. And I just learned today that that's taking place. That's childish and petty. How can we move forward and fix things and work together as a community when people are playing third grade games, posting LOLs and memes and hoo-ha and garbajola because they're brave behind their computer screens? Suck it up. Put on your big boy and girl pants and come here and say something if you want to say something. But don't think you're brave and bold sitting behind your computer at home, because you're not. There is a light at the end of the tunnel. The CDC said on December 6th, wearing of masks has never been as important as it is right now. Vaccinations, social distancing, we're going to have a tremendous summer. We're going to have a tremendous summer because we're going to be done with this. I contend that all the people who are in here and all you folks downstairs, that if 1,000 people from North Dakota came across the border charging at us with guns and weapons and spears, you all would be the first ones out there fighting against them to shut them down because they're infringing on your rights and your liberties. Why we are getting so mad about this at each other, I don't know. I don't want to divide. Every time I've talked about this, I've talked about bringing us back together, trying to do something to bring us together. I've talked with many, many business owners who have asked for us to have their back. They're nervous about enforcing this. Yes, they can enforce trespassing. Absolutely. No shirt, no shoes, no service. But they're nervous about this one because it's so new and it's such a big deal. So many have asked. That's why this has gained support amongst the council, is because we want to support those people.
We want to support your right to choose. You can choose what kind of place you go into. You can choose to do it or not. Government isn't telling you to go into a place. Government isn't telling you not to. Government is supporting the right of the business owner to make a decision that's best for them so they can stay open. I don't know what's best for Mary's Mountain Cookies other than me buying cookies down there. They know what's best for them. I don't know what's best for any other local businesses. They do. And none of us up here should impose on them what's best for their business, but we should support them and help them. I almost wish I would have voted to table this, because this is getting out of hand in the anger it's causing. I've had people call me and email begging us to approve this, because they want something. So this is a huge decision, and it's a no-win situation, no matter what we do. Thank you.
Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I'm trying to really practice talking fast so I don't have to use up my whole 5 minutes. Actually, I appreciate everybody that came out tonight. I appreciate all the views. I don't care if you call me names or cowards or whatever you want to call me. And if you're on Facebook and you're having a game with it and you're having fun, I'm okay with all that. But this is a serious thing for the people in our community, the people that want the mask, the people that don't want the mask. It's serious on both sides. But I got to say a couple things because I don't know. I didn't realize that Richie was the professional on what science was alternative and what science wasn't alternative. I'll have that conversation around him another time. Maybe we can get a Wikipedia started or something. Maybe call it Councilpedia. But Mr. Mayor, I have a couple questions for our council, for Joel.
For Joel, okay.
If you don't mind. Mr. Landine, is there anywhere you know of that the CDC requires some type of mask mandate?
I don't think it's a requirement. I think that
I
they've
just
made
want
the
to know if it was a
recommendation.
requirement or not. I want to make it simple because I only have a little bit of time. Now, if we pass this ordinance tonight, if I walk into a store that's either 50 plus or 50 minus, and the sign on the store says I have to wear a mask, do I need to wear a mask?
If
we pass
this ultimately, I
ordinance.
think it would still be up to the business. If they choose to tell you to put on a mask and you refuse, then they could call and ask you to leave the
It's always
establishment.
complicated when I got to ask a lawyer a question. So I'm just trying to make it simple for you, Joel. Now, if I walk into a different store and they put on their sign, like the gentleman tonight said, mask-free zone or mask optional, would I need a mask?
No.
So it would be my choice if I walked up to that store, to that front door, and that store said, mask required, I should wear a mask, just out of pure respect. If I walk up to that store and that store says no mask required or optional, I can do either. Is that correct?
I believe so, yes.
That's what is that the spirit of this ordinance tonight?
Yes.
That is the spirit of this ordinance tonight. All right. I've seen the CDC emphasized, they want South Dakota to emphasize mask wearing or whatever. I'm okay with that. And we could talk about wearing masks, washing your hands in, washing your hands out. I'm not going to argue with somebody about sterile field, whether a mask is appropriate, not appropriate in a certain situation. I don't have 40 years of wearing a mask. I'm not going to go down that argument. I'm not the scientific guru. I don't know anything about any alternative science. All I do know tonight is that if I walk into a store tonight, or after this will probably pass from looking at what's going on here, I'm not positive of what will happen. If it does pass, if I walk in and that store has on their door, mask required, I shop at Menards almost every day of the week for the last 6 months, and I wear a mask. I go in, I'm respectful to those people, to the employees that work in their masks. They made a choice to go to work there, I made a choice to shop there. Now, if I go into another store, and they say mask optional, say my wife's beauty shop, oh, she's going to kill me for mentioning that. Mask optional, if I go in there, out of the respect for the people, I'll make that call. If there are people in there wearing masks, they want me to wear a mask, I'm going to wear a mask. Unfortunately, it came down to a compromise. Obviously, I didn't want to have to go this direction, but I'll take this better than, and I know that people are going to beat me up for that, but go ahead, Facebook people beat me up. So I think you answered my questions, and I just wanted to clarify that because we had a lot of things that we were going to mandate everybody wear a mask all the time, and that's not the case. You'll make a choice. You have an educated choice. I think that's fair enough when you go to the business. It's an undue burden probably on the businesses, but either way, it's an undue burden on these guys. They're suffering either way. So at least they got some choice in the matter, and the people shopping in these stores will have a choice. It's their private business. Respect their private businesses. I wished and I hope that the mayor will make some clarifications on the city hall and the library and tell people what ADA compliance is. You know, can we make some room for the people without the masks? That's the only thing I hope will happen out of this, because there's a lot of people that can't wear them. We need to have some level of understanding or expectation when they come to that business what they can and can't do. Thank you, Mr. Mayor.
Thank you. We have a motion on the floor for approval. Jason Solomon. Oh, sorry, and I'm going to get to Evans and Drew. I'm sorry about that. Go ahead, Jason, and we'll get to these two.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I was going to make sure that we had opportunity to hear from those calling in. In the spirit of finding common ground, I wanted to, and allow for freedom of choice, I voted for kind of the compromise law. It's a dumb law, it's lame, I understand that, but it was better than the alternative. Today I just kept hearing about the list. And I'll tell you, one thing that concerned me was the original, before it ever came to everybody, ordinance we were considering had City Hall creating a list of those who are opting out. We were able to get that removed before it came up here, but is there I mean, what is this list that we keep hearing from on Facebook? Is it at all? I guess, council, can you tell me, is anybody creating this list? Ron, you're creating a list?
Ron Weifenbach.
Okay, he raised his hand, I'm sorry.
No, Mr. Mayor, I think there's some perception on the list. There is a Facebook post that I had removed from Visit Rapid City. It was actually connected to our city website, and it was a list that was of people in the community that had mask mandates, and they were called caring businesses. I had the city...
Citizen-driven or council-driven?
I'm not sure who drove it. I just had it removed. I asked Julie Jensen. She was kind enough. She had had a death in the family, wasn't unaware of this attachment to the Visit Rapid City website. She had it removed. I don't know if it still exists. I didn't pay much attention to it. I just know I had several
Well, you're taking up my time.
I'm sorry.
But I appreciate that answer. Because I kept hearing that today. I hadn't heard about this. Honestly, I've been limiting my time on Facebook. Evidently, citizens obviously can create all sorts of groups that they want to. I just didn't know what was happening from the council's perspective. I've maintained that we don't have to choose between liberty and public health. There's a way to balance both. We presented a resolution. While not perfect, it spelled out the precautions that us as a community should be taking. It also spelled out the fact that businesses currently have the right, if they have a mask required sign on their door, currently have the right to enforce that, as they would with any trespassing or loitering laws, those sorts of things. So we made sure that that was in there. But the question I've received a lot is, what's the big deal with the masks? And I don't think it's a big deal. I will mask. If somebody requires a mask, I put it on. Especially when I go to a place that has a sign, I'm certainly going to wear my mask. It doesn't bother me at all. It's the least we could do, to be honest with you. Whether it works or not, I'm going to let others figure it out, but that's not my point. The issue I have is that a mandate doesn't end with a period. It begins with a comma. That's my problem. When I look at the trajectory of these kinds of decisions, I don't like the direction it takes us. And I would think that I was, imagining something, except that I look at other states and the really harsh measures that they've taken, whether it's California, Michigan, New York, and I see some of the things that are going on. I say, I don't want that to be here in South Dakota. And so I've been resistant to that because I don't want to go down that road. Not in South Dakota. That's why I live here. I live here for the beauty mostly for the relationships I have and the family that I have, but also because of the personal and economic freedoms that it provides me and my family. That's why I choose to live here, or else I'd probably live at the ocean. You know, I love the ocean, but I also love the Black Hills, and I love the freedom that we have here. And so it's the trajectory that I have a problem with. And the fact of the matter is, I really don't see this as, I don't know, heroes and villains necessarily. There are heroes fighting in the front lines. The only villains in this scenario is the virus and those who would use it for nefarious means. That's it. Everybody else, we're all trying to figure it out together, whether we have it right or wrong. I'm sure we aren't getting it perfect. We are not pitching a perfect game. No one else is either. From the federal government, every state, every municipality, we presented a resolution that was, I thought, even tighter than Sioux Falls, and that still wasn't good enough for Rapid City. So we had to go down this road. And in the spirit of finding common ground, like I said, I was willing to go on board, but when I kept hearing about these lists and the things that this is going to do to divide people, I couldn't get on board with it. So I won't support it at this time. I will support a resolution. I'll save my last 10 seconds if I need it. Thank you.
Bill Evans.
Can you hear me, Mr. Mayor?
Yes.
I just wanted to say it's actually quite impressive, the people that stand up and speak, because obviously most of them are very highly intelligent and obviously very eloquent, and I have to say I'm impressed. I'm also impressed with Mr. Nordstrom's passion and how he speaks very calmly and from the heart. And I have to say, Mr. Weifenbach, you summed up things beautifully to those of us listening at home. But I want to explain the reason why I am not in attendance personally there tonight, physically. On November 29th, President Trump's task force released a document, 413 pages, to every governor in the United States. In that document, which was not made public, but it was given to the governors, and it's been released by some. Our governor has chosen not to share it with her citizens, for whatever reason, I don't know. But I will read, and I'm not paraphrasing, this is a direct quote from that document. It must be made clear that if you are over 65 or have significant health conditions, you should not enter any indoor public spaces where anyone is unmasked due to the immediate risk to your health. Now, that is the reason I chose not to be there tonight. I'm not worried about me wearing a mask and protecting other people, because I just got back from a physical, and I'm pretty sure I don't have COVID-19. But I am worried about sitting in a room with many unmasked people based upon these kind of reports coming from highly esteemed people, in this case, those appointed by President Trump himself. So I'm perplexed that people have chosen to ignore these recommendations. I don't understand it, given, like I said, they're obviously highly intelligent people. So I'm going to encourage them to do what I do, and that is I do not get on Facebook. I do not get on Twitter. I don't engage in social media hardly at all, ever, unless it's somebody's birthday. And I choose to do my research based upon what I find on medical school websites and highly validated sources coming from the medical profession. And it's always possible to find an outlier that you can run and argue, and it validates your particular argument. But the great majority of these particular studies all say that masks do have an impact. So I based my decision. I just wanted to share that with people, and I apologize for not being in attendance tonight. And with that, I'm going to say that I'm going to support the mask ordinance. Thank you.
Darla Drew.
Okay, I pushed the right button this time. So, and thank you. I'm sorry I was just a little discombobulated there. But I think it reflects the stress that our city is going through. The council is not alone, and the people in that room are not alone, and the people that send us emails or call us. We're all stressed. I mean, this has been a long haul. And, yeah, there's people coming down on each side of this. And, you know, but they're my friends. I look at those people and they're my neighbors. And I don't want to be vile in any way. I listened to them last time. And this week, I had a change of heart on my responses to people. I didn't get to all of you, but certainly Jason Johnston and I were escalating in our emails. And then he shared a story with me that changed everything. And I thought, okay, this guy has been through a lot, and I've just got to back off. So I said I was sorry, that I was still, you know, I was snarky, and I'm still going to support the mask ordinance, but I was sorry for what he went through. And that just tamed everything down. We found common ground, and I think that might be some advice to the rest of the council. Find some common ground. We're all Rapid Cityans, and we're good people. And so that was my lesson for the week. As far as folks saying we don't have any real evidence of masks working, Brookings brought their COVID rates down from a peak of 300 on 11/15 to 125 by 11/29. They didn't make it go away. It didn't, you know, but that's an incredible number of people that didn't have COVID with masking, with their masking ordinance. They saved some lives there. Yeah, it didn't go away, but it certainly decreased. It was very impressive. Now, some people, I don't know what they're referring to when they say last year or when we had, I don't know, I think they're talking about flu. So I'd just like to share some facts about flu. In the last 10 years, we've had at a low of 31,000 deaths a year to a high of 62,000 deaths a year. That's the flu, 62,000 deaths, which compared to what we have with COVID, not even a full year, 274,000 deaths. So this isn't the flu. This is very different, and it's taking a lot of South Dakota lives. And we don't have that many people to lose. We're losing leaders. We're losing teachers. We're losing, you know, relatives, of course, but, you know, we're losing people that help us decide where South Dakota might be in a few years. We have to protect ourselves and each other. I will be supporting this ordinance, this masking ordinance. And for those of you, very kind people that asked how my dad was, and I tell you, a lot of people ask me, he got out of the hospital today after 14 days in the hospital. They didn't force him out. They waited till he got well, which I thank the hospital staff for. He is going to a nursing home so he can get stronger, but he is COVID-free and recovering. And this is an 89-year-old man. And when someone shows compassion and love, and they needed that bed, you know, they needed that bed. They could have taken the path of, well, he's 89, he's probably going to go down anyway. He didn't. He survived. And we are very grateful for the work of the Monument Hospital staff. As a family, the Drew family thanks you. So I've had some really personal experiences this week. I've learned some things. I'm still going to support the mask ordinance because I think it gives the people that want to have a mask mandate that freedom to do that, and those that don't want it, also the freedom to not have it. I can't help the people that have a medical condition that makes it impossible for them to wear a mask and people are looking at them or giving them the evil eye. You know, if that happens, I'm really sorry about that. And I mean that from my heart because you don't deserve it. But, you know, I think we got to work through this together. We're a good city and we're stressed and we're coming up on the holidays. So we just need to have, I don't know, guys, just a little more kindness towards everyone, towards the people that get a hold of us online, believe me, I've been listening to you two, those that have made statements, and I've been listening to the people that are supporting this mask mandate also as they make comments online. And so I think this is our best option. Thank you. I yield.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I agree with what Darla said. There is a place for some kindness and understanding and some compassion amongst one another in order to make our community stronger. But, you know, I've been listening to the doctors that are on the front lines and the healthcare providers and the nurses and the people that tell me what it's like for those COVID patients. And not everybody gets it the same. Some people have very mild cases and they go merrily on their way. Other people end up in the hospital and they have to fight for their lives. Other people get violently sick. I mean, I know people who are in peak physical condition, and when they've got this, it knocked them on their butts for a good 2 weeks. And you know, you can't go to work then because you have a risk of infecting other people, even if you could get up and get out of bed. The range of symptoms that come with this run the whole gamut. And this is such a simple thing to do to try to prevent the spread of this virus. The people at Monument Health are heroic in my mind. I think Paulette Davidson took over that Monument Health with grace and skill and compassion, and she's really done an outstanding job there, and her entire staff, the people that work with her, the board. We are very lucky to have those people here. But, you know, and we don't see a lot of the people that are in favor of the mask coming to the city council meetings. They don't want to be in a room with a bunch of unmasked people because they're high risk. But they do write to us and they do tell us about that. And we have had a couple of physicians come here. A couple of them have written articles into the op-eds into the newspaper. Refusing to wear a mask puts community at risk. This is from a local physician, another local physician who came here. Masks protect lives and save businesses. Another local physician who I've known for, I don't know, 30 years. He wrote a letter to the editor, and I'm just going to go ahead and read some of that because I guess he put it out there in the public. But he says, I understand the desire to chart our own course in life. We value our individual liberties here in South Dakota. However, with freedom comes responsibility. As a physician caring for people with COVID-19, it is becoming alarmingly apparent the safety of our community and healthcare workers is on the line. Lives depend on how we choose to exercise our freedom. We have few, if any, effective treatments for COVID-19. Prevention is our best defense. Overwhelming evidence supports wearing masks, hand washing, and social distancing as effective measures to reduce viral spread. That was a letter to the editor that was published October 28th. I know on Fox News this last weekend there was Trump's own Secretary of the Department of Health and Human Services was speaking in front of a big sign that says, mask up, beat the virus. And it's recommended all the way from the Department of Health and Human Services to the CDC. Everywhere says that this is a good idea. And it's so easy to do. And so I'm supporting this ordinance because I think we need to do something to support our healthcare providers. And I think we need to do something to try to slow the spread. We are not a success story in COVID defense in South Dakota. The statistics, it all bears that out. We're number one finally in something, and it's not a good thing to be number one in. So I'll just close with the same thing I said last week in that letter from that guy, Paul. He says we need to be kind and compassionate to one another. So let's go into this Christmas season and be kind and compassionate to one another. Let's think about someone else's needs instead of our own rights. Just do it for a few weeks or a few months, 2 months. Thank you.
Lance Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. Councilman Jones, would you like some more time? I'd yield you what's left of mine.
Okay, go ahead. Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mr. Lehman. Based on what's come forward because of these lists and where they may be originating from, that concerns me quite a bit. And I've been in favor of this thing and believe we need to do something. However, if what these lists may be doing as far as tainting the process concerns me a lot. A question for Joel Landine, if I may, Mayor?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Joel, there was a motion to table that failed. Can another motion to table be introduced at this time, or is it one and done when it comes to those?
I don't know that we've ever had one. I'd say generally on a motion to reconsider, if you're on the opposing side, then you can make a motion to reconsider if it's going to change the vote.
Well, we're in the middle of a lot of we've never beens in, and so I think we have to realize to operate like that. I'll tell you, this really concerns me, that these lists may be being generated from people who work for the city, serve the city, people we support with our tax dollars. I think it taints the process an awful lot, and I think it's wrong. And so I think we need to look into that before we move forward. And I will apologize to Mr. Roberts because maybe I wish I would have voted yes, but I guess I just wasn't in the loop as far as this list thing quite yet. So my apologies to you. But I would introduce a motion at this time to table this based on the origination of these lists and needing to find out what, if anything, they're doing to the process. Did you say I couldn't make the motion because I voted no?
I didn't say anything.
The council.
But yeah, generally you don't make motions after you speak.
Oh, yeah, that's right. I should have done that first, but I didn't know if I could. We're all in the middle of stuff we never thought we'd be in the middle of in our life. So thank you for the time, Councilman Lehman. That's what I wanted to bring up, is that's my concern. If someone would like to make that motion, I will yield. Thank you.
You know, rather than make this more complicated than it needs to be, if you no longer support the ordinance, you could just vote on the ordinance, and if the vote fails, it essentially would have the same effect as tabling.
Well, let's entertain a motion then to table and see what happens. I don't know that there's any rule precluding the same motion coming back up. Who's making that motion?
Mayor, I'd make a motion to table the item.
Second by Weifenbach. John Roberts, would you like to? Okay, never mind. It's a tabling motion, so no. Bill and Darla both on the phone. We'll go to roll call.
Yes.
Yes.
Motion's to table.
Weifenbach. Solomon. Jones. Armstrong. Stroman. Roberts. Evans.
No.
Nordstrom.
No.
Drew.
No.
Lehman. Tied 5-5.
Chair votes aye. Motion is tabled. But I don't think this is a victory for us. I think this is a defeat. I think these public servants up here have tried to do their best to protect their constituencies, and it's become too hard. And I hope none of us go home cheering tonight, because I think we're in a we're in a rough spot as a community, and I feel bad for us. So now that that matter is settled, we have a council meeting to attend to. Okay, we're going to open up public hearing items on items 1 through 54. Public comment on items 1 through 40. We have a speaker request form on item 10 and 24 from Chuck Henry.
Oh, shoot. I'm just running on 10 with the travel development. How much was considered about going clear out to the new hospital they have, the specialty hospital, when there's no other bus that goes out there unless you qualify for dial ride, which I don't qualify for dial ride. But I'm able to get rides through my insurance because they upped my insurance to a higher rate. So we need those. Monument Health's got buses that they can use to help us get out there if public transportation can't go out there besides dial ride. Thank you.
Do you want to speak on item 24 also, Chuck?
If I don't fall. Oh, Fire Station 1 is too small for what they've got in there. Now we have female firefighters that have to lock the shower doors so no male firefighters can go in there. It needs to be redone. I think the administrative needs to be separate from the fire station, but that's my opinion. Thank you.
Thank you. Okay, and I think that's all of the speaker requests on items 1 through 40. So we'll go to the consent calendar, items 1 through 40. Would the council like to remove any of these items for separate consideration? Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Pull item number 25 and number 30 for Alderman Roberts, please.
Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. Item number 26, 31, 33. Thank you.
All right, any others? If not, then could we have a motion to approve the consent calendar with the exception of 25, 26,
Hold
30,
on.
30?
I wrote, excuse me, Mayor, I wrote in that I wanted to pull an item, and most of them have been pulled already, but I want item 32, please.
All right, say the item number again, please.
Item 32,
Okay.
the airport.
Anything from you, Bill?
Not right now.
Okay, then, could we have a motion to approve consent with the exception of 25, 26, 30, 31, 32, and 33? Motion approved by Jones, second by Lehman. Roll call.
Strong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Motion passes.
Okay, item 25, authorize staff to seek proposals for consultant services for Fire Station Number 1, improvements project number 2612. Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I move to approve. If I can get a second and retain the floor.
Second by whom?
Just a point of clarification for our fire chief, if I could.
Second was by Stroman. Go ahead.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I thought you said that already. Chief Culberson, as you walk up there, the $300,000 we're using for the design of this, the letter says CIP. Is that correct in terms of funding source?
No, it's not. It's coming from the Vision Fund. That should have been corrected, but it must not have to this point.
Just
It's
looking at
coming
the-
from the Vision Fund.
Okay, looking at the letter, we had about a year and a half or so ago, we made sure we secured those funds, so that's getting used. Just to catch everybody up to speed, it's been over 45 years since Fire Station 1 was built. It has been in need of repair and renovation, I suppose, for over 20 years.
That's correct.
And if you look at the conditions that the folks that are serving us have to deal with and kind of the duct tape they're always having to put on, you'll realize they deserve much better than this. And so there are news stories that give you a tour of the place, and I'm sure that any council member who wants a tour of Fire Station 1, you're perfectly willing to do that. The reason I plant that seed now is because this $300,000 is easy, but down the road, we are going to have an investment we're going to need to make as a city. I urge our city council to get behind this and make sure that we take care of those who are taking care of us. Thank you.
Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. Just a clarification, Chief. Culberson, I'm looking at this CIP number, and you said it is incorrect. What should it be so we have the correct motion?
It should have been corrected to come out of the Vision Fund. I thought the agenda had been corrected. Pauline might be able to attest to it, but we have $300,000 in the Vision Fund directly related to design and development of Station 1.
May I go to Pauline Sumption?
Yes, you may. Pauline Sumption.
So the title, it's correct. What's attached is also corrected where it says that's coming out of the Vision Fund under the Special Projects budget line item. All of our projects get a CIP number, so that might be what is causing some of the confusion.
So the motion is to approve as written then?
Yes.
Thank you.
That's the motion on the floor, is to approve, understanding that it's vision funds.
Thank you. Yes, Mr. Mayor. I knew the answer already, but I wanted clarity because it wasn't very clear in the writing. So between the chief and our finance officer, I think we got our clarity. Thank you.
Okay, let's go to roll call for vote on that item 25.
Drew,
Darla.
Drew?
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Jones. Evans.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, item 26, authorize Youth and Family Services to make improvements to a city building currently leased at 410 East Monroe Street, and that will go to Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. My question on this is, we as the landlord of this building, because they're leasing it from us, what role do we play in the design and building and supervision of what's going to be built on our property? I'm not sure who I'd address that to.
Joel, you want to take a stab at Alderman Jones' question?
Which item is it?
26. Request from Youth and Family Services to add a vestibule addition to the front of the building that they're leasing from us. My question was, how active of a role do we take in that, since it's our building and we're leasing it to them?
Well, I haven't worked on this, but I think the summary that I just reviewed said that we are required to approve any improvements to the property. My guess is they already have improvements there, which is why they're adding a vestibule, so I don't know that it really makes much of a difference. But I can't really explain to you what it is. I mean, normally, no, we wouldn't probably care too much unless it was undeveloped property.
Do they have to get a building permit and do everything that anyone else would have to do?
Sure.
Okay.
Okay, Darla Drew, did you have a question on item 26?
Yes, I do. I just want to be clear that this is no extra expense to the city. This is somehow they're funded for this project?
Okay,
Anyone?
duly noted. Oh, you're asking or you're telling?
I'm asking, are they paying for this? There's no expense to the city?
That is correct.
Maybe Pauline wouldn't?
The only
That is
reason
correct.
this is
Okay.
the only reason this is in front of you is because the lease that they have with the city requires them to get permission before they make any improvements to the property. This is an improvement to the
Okay,
property,
gotcha.
so this isn't a financial
Okay.
issue. It's just a term of their lease that we have to comply with.
I think we
Thank
may
you.
need a motion on item 26. Motion approved by Jones, second by Richie Nordstrom. Roll call, please.
Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item 30, approve request to grant permanent drainage easement to Discovery Village Apartments, LLP, to benefit property in the Scotts Addition subdivision. The developer agrees to pay $1,346 to the city in exchange for granting this easement. John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I just need to abstain from this item.
Motion to approve by Lehman, second by, was that Wyffenbach? Okay. And roll call, please.
Stroman. Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Motion passes 9-0 with Roberts abstaining.
Okay, thank you. Item 31, to approve Resolution 2020-088, a resolution writing off uncollectible ambulance bills in the amount of $912,211. And that was Pat Jones.
Thank you, Mayor. I want to commend our fire chief for getting the books cleaned up on these things and bringing this to our attention, so thank you very much, Chief. Thank you. Many times at the meetings, we take a verbal whooping by people who say that the city doesn't do anything to help the poor or the indigent or homeless or that kind of thing. $912,000 in ambulance rides that were not paid for is helping out a lot of people who need it. And so I would hope that those folks who say we don't contribute anything to the welfare of those who need it, $912,000 is a lot of money that the city is just writing off, saying that you couldn't pay or didn't pay, and we're just willing to accept that. So I mention that just so the public can be aware of the extreme amount that we are doing to help support those in need. And the chief explained to me that these are sent to collections, and a tremendous amount of effort is put into collect them. It's not just, oh, we gave them a ride, they didn't pay. A tremendous amount of effort goes into collecting them, and it reaches a point that they are uncollectible, and so that's why this is being done. So that's why I mentioned this, bringing it forward. Thank you. I move approval.
Okay, motion to approve by Lehman, and who's the second? Jason Solomon, and roll call, please.
Lehman. Drew,
Aye.
Nordstrom,
Aye.
Evans,
Aye.
Roberts, Stroman, Armstrong, Jones, Solomon, Wyffenbach. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item 32, approve Rapid City Regional Airport rates and charges for fiscal year 2021. We'll go back to, we'll go to Darla Drew, and also be advised, Patrick Dame is on the phone if needed.
Oh, okay. Great. Is our liaison there that maybe they could answer the question? Our airport liaison, is there someone on the council?
Lance Lehman, I would be the airport liaison, but I would defer all questions to Patrick Dame.
Okay. All right. Patrick, this is Darla. Can you hear me?
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay. All right. So when I'm looking at this, the regional airport rates, these are the renters and the people that have buildings around the airport, right? The people that rent from you, the businesses that rent from you.
Correct.
Correct?
That's correct.
Did every business sign on to this, or are we just saying this is what we'd like to see, or are we approving this after they've signed on?
So part of the rates and charges increase that are included in this, number one is our CPI increase, which is an annual increase that takes effect based on our contracts. The other piece of this is our COVID relief. So the council previously approved the rates and charges. However, the airport board has initiated a COVID relief, which is a 50% cut of those rates for those who are getting increases in this particular year.
Oh, okay, great. Thank you for clearing that up for me. I was really thinking of this quite differently. Of course, I can support that, and thank you for your explanation. I don't need anything else. I yield.
Motion approved by Pat Jones. Second by whom? John Roberts. Okay, roll call, please.
Strong, Jones, Lehman, Solomon, Evans,
Aye.
Drew,
Aye.
Nordstrom,
Aye.
Wyffenbach, Roberts, Stroman. Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. Item 33, authorize Parks and Recreation Department to harvest 250 deer for the 2020-2021 season. And Pat Jones.
Thank you. I will defer to our Parks and Recreation Department head to talk a little bit about this. Thank you.
Thank you very much. This is a program that we have conducted for about 25 years now. It's a program in which we conduct a survey initially to determine the number of deer that we have within the city limits, getting an idea of that. And based on those numbers, the South Dakota Game Fish and Parks Department recommends a certain number of deer that we should harvest each year. And so our first step in that, our second step in that, would be to come to City Council and seek your approval for that recommended number of deer. Then the Secretary of the Game Fish and Parks will issue kill permit and deer tags for that number. Then our staff conducts the harvest right after the first of the year. It takes about 3 weeks. They do it late at night, early in the morning, when there aren't many people out. And they complete the harvest. That meat goes to a processor and then goes on to Feeding South Dakota and is distributed through that organization.
I'd like to make a motion to approve, and I'd like to keep the floor, please.
Second by Solomon. Go ahead.
Thank you. So how is that paid for then, the processing specifically?
The processing is paid for we have 250 deer recommended this year. In the Parks and Recreation operational budget, we have budgeted for processing of the first 150 deer. The next up to 100 deer is going to be, the cost of processing will be covered by the Sportsmen Against Hunger group. They have generously donated funds for several years now to assist with the processing of that.
And that is a fantastic program, and we appreciate Sportsmen Against Hunger taking an active role. If someone wanted to donate towards helping to pay for the processing, what would be their best thing to do?
Well, I imagine they could just contact us or send, I'm looking at the finance director, but I think that they would probably just send a check to the city with that specific target of that donation.
Great way to help feed people.
Sure.
Simply just by writing a check to help the processing. Thank you very much.
You bet.
Okay, we have a motion and a second on the floor for this item, so we'll go to roll call.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Jones. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you, and that takes us through the consent calendar. Now on to non-consent items. We'll open public comment on items 41 through 54. Yeah, they're in consent. Okay, and we have some speaker requests for this public comment period. And on item 45 and 46, we have Janelle Fink.
Good evening, I'm Janelle Fink with Fiscal Land Surveying, and I'm here on behalf of landowners Mike Gould and Stuart Rice and Ross McKee. And Mike is in the audience as well this evening, as is Tom Rao, who represents Dr. Stuart Rice. Out of respect for your time, I'm going to be the one to speak this evening, and I'll try to be brief. But I do want to thank you for your great patience this evening and the difficult job that you do. I'm just going to take a couple minutes and highlight, excuse me, what I think are the important aspects or important points of the two exception requests that we're asking you to approve today. The first item and the most important is that this request that comes to you is just as an exchange of land area between neighbors to help them better utilize their property. There's no increase in density associated with these exception requests or this plat. These roads are private roads that are owned and maintained by the landowners. The roads are in good condition with adequate shoulders for passing traffic. There's very limited use on those portions that are narrower sections, and they affect only the last 3 landowners. There is no liability or financial responsibility to the city or its citizens for these roads. Municipal water is available to each 4 of these parcels, and the owners have consented to sprinkler systems in new construction and a wildland fire mitigation plan. Lastly, if you approve these exceptions, your decision would be consistent with the 2017 exceptions that were approved by staff and waived all requirements for improvements for Skyline Ranch subdivision, which was an adjustment of parcel lines between 2 lots, very similar to what we're doing here. I'd be available to answer any questions, but we ask for your support this evening. Thank you.
Thank you. And on item 47, we have Cale McNaboe and Jim Scull who would like to speak. You don't have to speak at the same time, unless you want to.
Yeah, thank you, Mayor and Council. It's Cale McNaboe, Long Branch Civil Engineering. I know at the working session earlier we had a pretty lengthy discussion on the Anamosa Street improvements. Is everybody able to hear me today? I had some difficulty at the working session with the mic. I would like to put this up on the overhead if that's all right, so I can better clarify. So what we're looking at is a piece of property This is East Middle School. This is Reservoir Road, and this will be Anamosa Street in this location. This is the exception request that's been made, is to the Anamosa Street property. The Anamosa Street improvements in this location. I'd like to point out that this property is approximately, if this is Elkvale Road, it's approximately 3,960 lineal feet of undeveloped roadway embankment before reaching the area of the exception request. At the working session, we had a lot of conversation about the water and the sewer infrastructure. And in our subsequent to that meeting, we discussed with the Rapid Valley Sanitary District their needs for water in this location. And the ownership group is in a position of installing that water in this location. We also discussed extension of the sanitary sewer. So what we're looking at is extending the sanitary sewer through this alignment, bringing it out into the Anamosa Street right-of-way, and stubbing it to the north as well as to the east, so that when this property is developed, they can bring it into their property in the locations at which, in the future, they would deem most necessary for the proper development of their property. That being said, the exception requests for the water and sewer, they can go ahead and be denied. We've been through that process with the sanitary district. The director for the sanitary district is here to verify that and or answer any questions you have. But so the water and sewer exception request can be denied. What we're asking for is for the exception request not to curb and gutter and asphalt this portion of Anamosa Street, although we would build the embankment and put a 20-foot wide gravel surface on it to match the gravel surface that's on Reservoir Road, and to not construct the Anamosa Street embankment or drainage and surfacing improvements in this area. And that essentially is the extent of the exception request as presented. I see I'm out of time, but if you do have any questions, I'd be happy to answer them.
Jim, do you have more to add?
Yeah, Jim Scull, I talked to most of you here at our working session about this. What we're talking about here is affordable lots. I'd like to point out these are lots generally below $50,000, which we have a real shortage in our community. And at our working session, we went over the costs of installing half a road, I guess you would call it, and that's probably somewhere between $650,000 and $800,000. There's 91 lots going to be constructed here, so if you do the math, that's about $9,000 a lot additional. This project, I can tell you, does not have any kind of money like that to build an arterial road. And we had a discussion that night or afternoon about arterial roads and the challenges we face in this community of building quality lots that are affordable and trying to get those costs for these larger, multi-laned roads in. And we talked about addressing that in some fashion, but this project, I can tell you, will not be built. If that is a requirement. It just isn't possible, unfortunately. I'd love to see them because I'm talking to a lot of people around the community. And I guess just in my behalf, and I've had this conversation with the mayor some time back and a couple of you council members, I think I saw the community had 180 building permits for homes last year, and this year it's up to maybe 225. That is not acceptable. That's a community in decline. And you know where they're all being built. They're being built east, west, and north, south of town, outside our community, which can't be positive for the community as a whole. We have got to figure this out. I don't know what the solution is. I really don't. but we need to get some committees, some people together and say, what do we got to do to build our community base? So, but that's kind of outside the line, but if you have any questions about that, it's just, I hope I can convince you that this project is a no-go with this kind of improvement to a road that basically will be throwaways. I mean, we've talked about that at the other meeting, that a lot of this just isn't in a position to be final designed. So we'll put a lot of money into something that really just we tear out and redo at some point in the future, So thank you.
Okay, and then on item 51, Cale wants to talk on that item as well.
Yep, I apologize. I inadvertently filled out the speaker request for the wrong one, so you can go ahead and waive that. Thank you.
All right, so that'll bring us to closing the public comment period on this. And then we'll start back with the agenda, item 42, under ordinances. First reading, ordinance 6450, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Tony Marshall for Table Rock, Inc. for a rezoning request from low-density residential district 2 to medium-density residential district for property generally described as being located at 2829, 2833, 2837, 2841, and 2845 Horizon Point. Motion to approve by Lehman and a second by Roberts. Okay, and then over to Heidi for a roll call.
Jones. Aye. Lehman. Aye. Solomon. Aye. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
No.
Weifenbach. Roberts.
Aye.
Stroman. Aye. Armstrong. Aye. Motion passes 9-1.
Okay, item 43, first reading, ordinance 6451, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code, a request by Ferber Engineering Company for B2 Holdings for a rezoning request from planned unit development to general commercial district for property generally described as being located at 2233 and 2341 North Elk Vale Road. Motion approved by Jones, second by Roberts. Over to Heidi.
Roberts. Aye. Stroman. Aye. Armstrong. Aye. Jones. Aye. Lehman. Aye. Solomon. Aye. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Motion passes.
Okay. Item 44, approve resolution number 2020-082, a request by the City of Rapid City for a road name change from Susan Drive to Susan Drive for property generally described as Susan Drive between West Main Street and Canyon Lake Drive. Several motions to approve by Lehman, a second by Armstrong, and we will go to Bill Evans.
Hi, normally, hopefully you can hear me. Normally this would be a no-brainer for me and I would just vote to approve it. In this case, however, I'm going to be voting no to make a point. Now, the name Sioux, S-I-O-U-X, was given to the Dakota, Lakota, Nakota tribes, not of their own choosing. The name has stuck. That's the name we grew up using. I was not aware of its derogatory connotations. You can look those up, but I believe it was initially brought to the fore by an opposing tribe that it was a word that meant little snake or something. So for me to actually rename something from one name to another that's derogatory doesn't necessarily make any sense. I think it's a wasted bit of energy on our part. So I think the fact that it is named SOO, as you find across the country, Sioux Locks in the St. Louis Seaway, the Sioux Line Railroad that eventually merged with Burlington, Sault Ste. Marie spelled another way, S-A-U-L-T, you know, there's all these instances of this word being spelled differently. The reality is I think time could be better spent on something like saving the main building at the Sioux Sanitarium, which is slated for destruction in about 2.5 or 3 years. And I wish it received this kind of attention right now so we could get going on this to repurpose that beautiful structure, which is a landmark in Western Rapid City and dominates the entire western half of the city. So my point is not that I don't want to change this particular name. I want it to be respectful. I don't know if this vote accomplishes that, but I do need, we need to be spending time now on bigger things that are coming to the fore in the near future. And that's all I have to say. Thank you.
Okay, thank you. Now we have a motion and a second on the floor for approval, and we'll go to a roll call. Your microphone's dead. Lehman? Aye. Weifenbach? Aye. Stroman? Aye. Nordstrom?
Aye.
Drew?
Aye.
Armstrong? Aye. Jones?
Aye.
Solomon? Solomon said yes. Roberts? Aye. Bill?
Nay.
Okay, motion passes 9-1. Can someone in the control room bring us a new microphone, please? Okay, that was item 44. Item 45, appeal by Janelle Fink of an exception request denial to allow pavement width less than 20 feet wide as part of a subdivision. And we'll go to Pat Jones.
Thank you very much, Mayor. We saw the map of this project and some pictures of it, but it was, I wanted to get a closer look, and I'd like to thank Mr. Gould for spending time with me on Sunday. I went up there and drove around a lot on Saturday, looked at the roads, and then Sunday, Mr. Gould took me on a four-wheeler cruise through the entire neighborhood, up and down all the roads, and it was very eye-opening. It really helped me understand what this is all about and why the request is here. It's a gated community, or gated area, basically, from one certain section back to where there's 3 houses, and that this is the area where is in contention about needing to be 20 feet wide. And basically, this is just a long driveway that serves these 3 homes. I don't see any reason to impose the cost and the inconvenience of widening these 2 spots. I very much like to support our city staff and understand why they're wanting to follow the book on these things, but in this case, it's private. We'll never do anything up there with it for plowing or anything like that, and I believe that the request for the exception should be approved. Thank you.
Okay, Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I make a motion to approve. If I can get a second and retain the floor.
Second by Weifenbach. Go ahead.
We spent a good deal of time talking about this at working session. I think there's enough common sense here for us to grant the approval, and really doesn't have any negative impact, I think, on the community. And so with that, that's why I am voting to approve it. Thank you.
John Roberts.
Thank you. Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I will be voting to support this too. I find this interesting. It's something where our subdivision ordinance kicks into place where it really shouldn't for improvements on the subdivision. I mean, what they're doing is trading land for land. They're not increasing any density up there. They're not really changing anything in the area. And I think that this is something that we really should look at, because this should be something that could easily be staff approved and just go through and not have to come through here, waste people's time and money because, you know, hire an engineer to do this. And, you know, I can see if they were adding lots or they were subdividing. I could see if they were, but in this case, it's just so no-brainer that there is nothing being done and there's no reason for this. So anyway, again, I just think it's something that we could change and not have it happen again in the future. Thank you.
Greg Stroman.
Thank you, Mayor. I thought Michelle did, or Janelle did exceptional job of explaining this at the work session. There's no liability to the city. The roads are in good condition. They're adequate for the traffic. It only affects 3 landowners. I'm in full support of granting the exception. A little disappointed that I didn't get invited for a 4-wheeler ride, but I will support the request for an exception.
Okay, we have a motion to approve item 45. Go to roll call.
Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Motion passes.
Okay, item 46, appeal by Janelle Fink of an exception request denial to waive the requirement to install water main on H.W. Gould Memorial Drive as part of a subdivision. Motion to approve by Solomon and a second by Roman, was it? Okay, Pat Jones.
This was also part of my Skyline Ranch Road, a whirlwind tour with Mr. Gould. If this water line were to be put in, it would be a water line to nowhere. The 2 houses at the end of the road have a well. There's not going to be any development past there. And again, I like to support our staff, but this one, it just makes no sense to put in a water line like that needs to. There would be so much cost. I apologize, I'm rambling a little bit, but it doesn't need to be there, and being up there and seeing it and finding exactly where the lot lines are and seeing everything. Again, thank you, Mr. Gould, for your time, and I very much support the exception. And to you folks, you are victims tonight of the greater mass of people that the vote on the mask ordinance got moved ahead. I apologize that you had to wait so long, but thank you for staying with us and hanging in there. I appreciate it very much. And since I made the motion to move it, I should apologize to you for you having to be here more time. Thank you for being here and for sticking around. I appreciate it. Thank you.
We have a motion to approve. We'll go to Heidi for a vote.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Wyffenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Jones. Evans.
Aye.
Okay, motion passes. Item 47, appeal by Broker Fund Dividend LLC of an exception request, partial denial to waive the requirement to install public improvements in the East Anamosa Street. Richie Nordstrom.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a motion to continue this item to the next council meeting. If I get a second.
Second by Armstrong. Go ahead.
Thank you, Mayor. There's a few reasons why I'd like to see just a little bit more time on this project. It's a worthwhile project, and I would like to see if we can't do something to help this project along. And several people have given me some ideas about how we can establish a better working rapport out there on this project, because my concern is that what we do for this area as it stands right now, if we build a berm with a gravel road, we're pretty much winding up. We should be consistent with the rest of East Anamosa. If that's the route this council chooses. So let me just be very brief, and a couple of points that I want to make is that our chief financial officer gave me an idea that works up in Sturgis that should be considered. Elevate Rapid City has got some ideas about the financial aspect for housing. I'd like to have that discussion with them. And then other developers on the east side of Elkville Road, we should be treating them the same way so that we're consistent. And then Some other conditions that are, that could appear on this project is that would recommend or hope that, that we can have the mayor put together a working group to look over all these issues to be consistent, because right now we're doing it as piecemeal project, and I'd like to see us move forward in making a better system that we've got right now, because what we got currently is not working well. It's just not working well. So that's my motion, is to continue this item for 2 weeks to give us a little chance to work up some additional financial packages for the this group of developers.
John Roberts.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I have to abstain from this.
Okay. We'll go to Darla Drew.
Thank you, Mayor. Yes, I've been looking at this too. We're developing very quickly here. This is, you know, another one of those situations that, as much as COVID is bad, this is a very good problem to have, but we don't really have that other tool in our toolbox. A tip is not going to work for a lot of these developments that are coming up, and we just need to think of a different way to fund these streets. It's not fair to ask the city to do all the street work because we simply can't afford it. It's not fair to ask the developers, and so maybe there's some kind of a tax through property or some kind of road assessment, but we really have to have these roads done. So I really echo what Richie is saying. I think this is something we need to move on quickly so that we can get our developers what they need to go forward and build these homes. I yield. Thank you.
Bill Evans.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. Ditto to everything that Ms. Drew and Mr. Nordstrom said. I totally concur with those thoughts. I started talking about this, I think, about 18 or 19 months ago, and the process is flawed. It hinders development, particularly by the smaller players in the group who have these little chunks of land and can't afford to float $900,000 million worth of financing on some kind of project like this. Arterial roads are a different baby altogether than the roads within a given development, and we need to start thinking about them as how they actually feed the infrastructure and the circulation of the entire city as it grows. And I think, the word arterial, you think about if somebody wants to build a big toe and they're forced to pay the expense for the entire femoral artery, and the foot doesn't do it, and the calf doesn't, and the thigh doesn't, and the knee doesn't. Some guy has to come up with the money to build the whole artery in the first place before anybody else can do it. That is just not a very efficient or fair way of doing things. So I do think we need immediately to start going on an alternate funding plan for these city projects. And again, let us build them to our standards and let people plug into them. And maybe we can prevent so many of these, as Mr. Nordstrom says, can kickers in the next 10 or 15 years, because this is the first of many of these that's going to come up over the next 2 or 3 years, I believe. So I will support tabling this. Thank you.
Lance Lehman.
I just have a question for Mr. Skoll, if you will. You could probably even nod, Jim. If we move this item, are we going to mess up any timelines of yours? If we move this item or continue it down the road, are we going to screw up any timelines of yours?
Does this one work? Well, we're always in a hurry. But the challenge for me is 2 weeks is not going to solve the problem. This is a deep, deep problem, a big challenge to come before us on roads like this in all directions. I think we all know that. I don't have to point that out.
And I agree. We keep kicking this item down the road until we fix your problem, and we'll be out of houses for 20 years.
And just to give you an idea, if we tackle Anamosa from Elkvale to through this development, it's about a mile. You're probably talking $6 to $7 million in road construction costs to build this road. So it's not something that we can look at lightly or quickly. It's a long-term challenge that gets a lot of developers hopefully on board to make this happen. And we all know then we have Fifth Street and the south where a lot of people would like to develop, and the challenge is equal. So,
Thank you, Jim. That's all I had.
Jason Solomon.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. I appreciate the conversation, and we had this conversation at working session. I think Mr. Skull brings up the point very clearly. I believe there is consensus on the council that we should work towards some more proactive, strategic development of roads. Not all roads, but that we build something and encourage development in a certain direction. We're not going to figure that out in 2 weeks. And I think that's a goal we should work towards. And it seems like we have the appetite on this particular council, which is pretty exciting, because I think if we could be strategic and prioritize that, it'd be great. So I think for this group, I think they need an answer, fairly soon, whether it's now or 2 weeks. I don't think we solved the bigger problem, but I do think we should probably give some indication about what direction they should go. So I would encourage us voting for this tonight, or at least taking a vote so that they can make their plans whether to move forward or not. I will say this, housing is in desperate need and we're going to have to get creative. I think we need to work better with our county to make sure that we are also looking at how we encourage the 1 mile, 3 mile radius around our city and how we can better cooperate with one another during those times, because the amount of housing we need right now is not even begin to tackle what we're going to need with the expansion, with the B-21s and everything else. This is just the migration of folks who really want to live in South Dakota due to the lifestyle that we have. And so it's creating a challenge for us. At the same time, I think we need to be responsible, make sure it's done the right way. Unfortunately, I think some things like this road can be prohibitive, and I'm not sure that Anamosa is the highest priority for us or not. I don't know. It might be, but I think we need more study to figure that out. I don't think we're going to get that in the next 2 weeks. So with that, I think we ought to tackle this issue tonight if we can, and then move forward from there. Thank you.
Lance Lehman.
Thank you, Mayor. I'd like to make a substitute motion to approve the appeal.
Substitute motion to approve item 47. And a second by Pat Jones. Ron Weifenbach.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor, and I'll talk on the motion. 90 houses, that's about, once 90 houses in that arena are put up, that's about $500,000 in tax revenue. Unfortunately, without doing a TIF, we're not going to capture any of that. That could have helped pay for this road. I'm with these guys. We have to have a vehicle. I've talked to Mr. Evans about this and mentioned it. At some point, we got to come up with a good vehicle. It's always an option because basically that money is going to go to the county, the state. The city's portion of that tax revenue is so low, it doesn't support the services that are provided for. So unfortunately, we're behind the 8 ball on capturing some of this extra tax revenue because once they put these houses up, which I agree that we should go forward with this, those rooftops are going to create taxes in the next 2-3 years, almost $500,000 a year on 90 houses, and all that money is going to go right to the state, right to the county, right to the school district. And the city of Rapid City is just going to get such a minute portion of it. If we could have captured some of these rooftops before, we could have actually really built a nice road there, finished reservoir, and probably maybe even really looked at down the way of finishing Anamosa. So, but I will approve this, just hoping that we can get something together and move forward with some sort of vehicle. I think we should reconsider the TIFs, and if there was a time that I was against them, but I think if we do them right, Mr. Mayor, I think with the right people and the right process in place, we can capture this money before it goes to the state and the county, because we're not getting any of it, and you know that. So, thank you.
Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve item 47. Dale Tech has some relevant information.
I just need that
council to clarify what you're doing. Rusty Schmidt from Rapid Valley Sanitary District is here. The item in front of you today does include waiving improvements for Rapid Valley Sanitary. As Mr. McNaboe spoke earlier, they've come to agreement that they will install the improvements as required by Rapid Valley. So I want this council to be clear that you're not approving the Rapid Valley portion of this exception request.
Can we make that amendment with the motion maker?
Correct, yes, that's how I'd like to make the motion.
The motion maker will make the amendment that his motion will not include the sanitary sewer.
And water main.
And the water. Is that okay with the seconder? Okay. All right. Anything else, Mr. Tech? All right. Now that we know what the motion is, let's go to Heidi for roll call.
Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Yes.
Nordstrom.
No.
Weifenbach. Stroman. Armstrong. Motion passes 8-2 with Roberts abstaining.
Okay, thank you. All right, thanks. Community development items, item 48, a request by Fiscal Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers for Michael and Marnie Gould, Stuart Rice, Ross and Angela McKee for preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots A through D of Skyline Ranch subdivision, number 2, generally described as being located at 1850, 2300, 2221 Skyline Ranch Road, and the recommendation is to approve with stipulations. Pat Jones makes that motion, and Jason Solomon seconds. We'll go to roll call, please.
Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Motion passes.
Okay, item 49, a request by Davis Engineering for Murphy Brothers Partnership, LLC, for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 19 through 31 of Block 11, lots 12 through 18 of Block 13, and Lot H of Murphy Ranch Estates subdivision, generally described as being located east of the current terminus of Black Powder Road, south of Knuckle Duster Road. Recommendations to approve with stipulations. Okay, Jones makes that motion, and Roberts was a second. And we'll go to a roll call.
Lehman. Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones. Solomon. Weifenbach. Motion passes.
Okay, item 50, a request by Fiscal Land Surveying and Consulting Engineers for James Nelson for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots 1 and 2JN subdivision, generally described as being located at 8204 and 8208 Nemo Road, and the recommendation again to approve with stipulations. Solomon makes the motion, and a second by Lance Lehman to approve with stipulations. And for a vote, we'll go to Heidi.
Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Motion passes.
Item 51, a request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for Tony Marshall for a preliminary subdivision plan for proposed lots A through Q of Brielle subdivision number 2, generally described as being located southwest of the intersection of Tower Road and Tower Court. Recommendation to approve with stipulations. Okay, motion by Jones. Second, 2 seconds, one by Ron Weifenbach. And we'll go to roll call.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Jones. Evans.
Aye.
Motion passes.
Okay, thank you. And now on to alcohol beverage license applications. Item 52 and 53 are essentially identical with the exception of the companies involved. I say we vote on those at once. Motion approved by Nordstrom and a second by Greg Stroman. I can't see your lips move, so I got to see some kind of movement from you. Okay, and just for the record, item 52 is Moyle Petroleum Company doing business as Common Sense, 2660 Mount Rushmore Road. 53 is Black Sheep Group, Harriet Cafe, 329 Main. So we have a motion and a second to approve both items, and for the vote, we'll go to Heidi.
Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Pfeifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Motion passes.
Okay, item 54 is 6 alcohol license renewals. Motion to approve by Jones, second by Lance Lehman. All in favor? Well, nah, I wish.
Roberts.
Go to Heidi. First time I did
Stroman. Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Pfeifenbach. Motion passes.
Public hearing items 55 through 57. We have no speaker requests for these items. We'll go on to consent public hearing 55 and 56. Motion to approve by Lehman, a second by Nordstrom for 55 and 56. Heidi?
Lehman. Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Evans.
Aye.
Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Jones. Solomon. Pfeifenbach. Motion passes.
Non-consent public hearing items, item 57, approve second reading, ordinance 6449, an ordinance amending section 17.06 of chapter 17 of the Rapid City Municipal Code. A request by Long Branch Civil Engineering for James and Jamie Carpenter for a rezoning request from neighborhood commercial district to medium density residential district for property generally described as being located southeast of the intersection of Country Road and Haynes Avenue. Who? Move to approve by Nordstrom. Second by Weifenbach. What do you want to amend to add a mask mandate in there, going once? Twice? Okay, we'll go without the amendment. We'll go to Heidi for a vote.
Armstrong. Jones. Lehman. Solomon. Evans.
Aye.
Drew. Nordstrom.
Aye.
Aye.
Sorry. Weifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Motion passes.
Thank you. The bill list, item 58, and for that we'll go to the Finance Director, Pauline Sumption.
Thank you, Mr. Mayor. There are no additions to the bill list, so the total is that which is attached at $16,764,785.98.
Motion to approve Solomon, second by Jones. Heidi, roll call.
Drew.
Aye.
Nordstrom.
Aye.
Weifenbach. Roberts. Stroman. Armstrong. Solomon. Lehman. Jones. Evans.
Aye.
Motion passes.
All right, thank you. If there's no objection, we'll be adjourned.